Blood, shaped from multiple gravity wounded, the hero is rushed by gallop on their immigrated hollow. He did not stop the horse, caught him a jump all over. The wound on the handwritten was very bleeding. The non-motto on all the hollows is to be selected. In the fields, there was an extreme, complexly correctly reincarnated registration, which only pulled the situation and looked at the served and the wounded. Suddenly, right in front of the horse, a wild animal jumped out of the bushes and scared the animal. The horse, greatly frightened by an unexpected encounter with a wild animal, suddenly reared up and neighed loudly. Because of such a sharp movement, the rider could not hold on to the saddle and began to fall to the ground. Obsec this situation was presented. A grip with a thunderbolt crashing on a tweed land. Here's a strong blow to his bleeding wounds opened the strong, and from the gate drank an important book for the mistress. Raising his head with the last of his strength, the wounded rider looked hopefully at his frightened horse. He hoped that the animal would stay nearby, but the horse disobeyed its owner and quickly ran away in an unknown direction. Strong anger gripped the hero when he saw a running horse. However, noticing the fallen book next to him, he instantly forgot about his anger and tried to muster the strength to get to his feet. Hiding the important book behind his collar and pressing the bleeding wound harder, the hero firmly decided to continue his journey. He understood that he could not allow the victims of his comrades to perish in vain, and moved on foot. After a long and exhausting journey, the tired and exhausted hero finally reached the big city of Hunun. Magnificent architectural structures and multitudes of people on the streets made a strong impression on him. In this time in one of the heads of the city, the important cord was detained by his mistress. He felt compiled that the man, which was issued by the man, managed to release him and get a needy book. High Manager Ogon Chonadli heard the report and with a potential interest in his own owner. He is an unfulfilled motionale to make a sore lucky man, which managed to release an important task. The cordant you are Jew mock, the passage will bow, detailed her mistress. That one of the excellent warriors of the solemn commanders of the Elita, the name of the bloody will. Hearing the familiar name of the detachment, the mayor asked the counselor in surprise. He well remembered that it was these soldiers who were sent to perform this difficult and dangerous mission. He received a rejoining of his places. The mayor of the forever was a fate of the rock. A chur. The whole, not the eyes and with the deaf, soothing, the sadness of the sadness. All the soldiers were died. High Manager has released the information. The old man does not show her displaying. With the sparkle, he failed. However, only one of the homo was to stand against all the militias of the bloody dwarf. The counselor, having heard the hostess's question, gloomily admitted that he himself could not believe what had happened. This situation seemed unbelievable even to him, an experienced military advisor. Ogun Chong after the disintegration of his Kauser. He reassured the books, and in the end, he ordered an unrest to be oppressed by the Gom Hum Hum for the detail of all the details of the larger. The hero had arrived in the two-story and he worshipped the mayor. He patiently, while the Lord is unattended by the book and he will be ready to know his own. High last, the departure of the muddy books of the mysterious book, unattended on a young warrior. He wandered into the Gom Hum. It will take the way to the phenomenon of the document. The hero reinforced the issue of the mayor. He was correctly predictable that this important documents, the state, containing information about the organization and activity of the mystery of the mysterious bloodstream. The mayor carefully listened to the answer and decided to ask one more important question. He wondered if the young warrior knew how much money and resources had been spent to obtain this valuable book. Nin Goom Ho, all of it will come in a deep bow, calmly renovated the mayor. In his voice there were notes of a mountain. The cogged, he confessed, that he found only about the squeezing people in this bridge. High Member was blowing with such a non-dispersed gap of a young warrior. He reverses in the Nin Hom Homo accurately of the people who, in his Western, do not resolve the squeezing. The hero, frowning at the heavy memories, called the exact figure. 225 people died. Even the mayor, who had betrayed a lot, was amazed by such a huge number of victims. Gunnonatically, a young warrior and Otmethel is an important fact. From all the chipped on the purpose of the boys, the Gom Homo Smog does not only see, but also a thoroughly pursuit of the task. The young hero looked at the mayor in disbelief when he heard these words. He was shocked. He learned that not only his detachment suffered, but also many other soldiers. At this moment, The memory of the hero brought him back into the dreamy walls of the bloody yard. He sobbed all the details of that signal, which was amended by his life. During the storming of the palace, one of the main defense chiefs gave a cruel order to his subordinates. He demanded to immediately find and destroy all invaders, leaving no one alive. After this order, an even fiercer fight for survival began. The hero fought off numerous enemies with the last of his strength, although he was already completely covered in his own blood and the blood of his opponents. The situation was all the pain of the past by the past. The hero died that his forces are on the way, and the elaborate ending of the Mycia was the case under the series. At the critical moment of the battle, the loyal comrades of the hero made an important decision. They covered their commander with their own bodies and asked him to continue moving forward, leaving the battle with the enemy to them. With a heavy heart, the hero realized that he had no other choice. Despite the screams and moans of his wounded friends, he had to leave them behind and retreat to fulfill the main task. Suddenly, the hero's path was blocked by a huge enemy the size of a pillar. This giant noticed the hero's attempt to hide and immediately attacked him, swinging his powerful battle axe. The hero tried to avoid the fatal blow, but his body, exhausted by the long battle, failed him. He did not have time to notice the approaching attack and realized that he would not be able to dodge. At this critical moment, one of the captain's faithful subordinates made a heroic deed. He rushed forward and covered the commander with his body, fatally wounding him right in front of the shocked Yun Gom-ho. Invitation of his companion, the hero sent in the uncontrolled Yaros. Stewing forces and moving insane hatred, he broke on the enemy and Nabas a roar. After the hero had made his mind to his dying comrade. He drew up the wounded, but then, flooded with tears, only asked for death. The hero and the hostile refused to release the post of comrade. But the dying warrior, the infusion, will ask the death of the arms of the Gom home, the masks of the hell of the melt. With tears in his eyes and pain in his heart, the hero fulfilled the last request of his faithful friend. He cursed himself for not being able to protect him, and was forced to end his life with his own hands. Now, being in front of the mayor, the hero completely controlled his emotions. Despite the storm of feelings inside, he kept absolute composure and calmness. Ogon-chan highly assailed self, equipment of a young warrior. He returned to his assistant and he was interested. The bounty of the time now is freedom for the appointment. The assistant was overwhelmed by the current situation with vacancies. At the time, a free one important duty, the creditor on the wing list. The mayor's unexpected decision surprised everyone present. Oh Gang-jung ordered his advisor to immediately appoint young Un-gom-ho to this responsible position. The advisor, recovering from his surprise, cautiously tried to object. He believed that the boy was too young for such a serious job, but the mayor was absolutely confident in his success. Oh Gon-chan with a good library on a young hero. He has fallen out of Gom-hom. It wants to try their forces on the new. The mayor immediately explained the situation to the young warrior. He explained that Yun Gom-ho really had no choice and would have to accept this unexpected appointment. Due to many days, the famous house of Gelez and Blood. In this important mass, the series of series, the exclusive ones of the high-ranking soldiers, Yuji Mok, the right-hand man of the head of the Black Army, was especially displeased. He had just received news about the appointment of a commander from the Bloodhound group to an important position. Yuji Mok's assistants fully shared his indignation at this appointment. They all knew that the group of blood dogs was considered a gang of petty criminals, creating chaos. The second high-ranking warrior also expressed its non-locality. He was able to appoint such a young couple to the post of the head of the headmaster, but they could not resist the order of Sonia. You cannot calm down, and you have permanently walked on the component. Ego splashed Yarostia from the response of the mayor, and he did not make a Rogrum bend his disadvantage of this situation. Jugi Hua, the captain of the Black Army, watched with a smile the behavior of the angry Yuji Mok. She perfectly understood that his anger was caused by the fact that he himself had long dreamed of occupying the position of commander-in-chief. Annoyed by Jugi Hua's taunts, Yuji Mok harshly demanded that she shut up. He didn't want her jokes to make this unpleasant situation even more difficult for him. Jugi Kavareshilas will not be conflicted and quietly succeeded. Before the exit of She with a Squeezed, they will be in the pain of painful inserting a new headmaster, setting atmospheric atmosphere, the thunderbolt of one of the warriors. He was in the component in a secondary settlement. He had to arrive on the new head of the new headmaster. The news of the commander-in-chief's arrival instantly changed the mood in the room. Everyone present hastened to prepare for an important meeting, forgetting about previous disputes. In the head of the warriors, the idolized Rao for the way. In front of them appeared a young Na in the Soviet of the cousin, you are Ju Mocha, whom the nerve. The advisor quickly and clearly introduced the troops to their new commander-in-chief of the Black Army. He loudly called Yoon Gum-ho's name, trying to hide his displeasure with this appointment. The soldiers unattended the new commander in the parade form. Bolshevism was obeyed by his youth, and read it with a slices of the non-sophisticated one for such important duration. The advisor noticed dissatisfaction in the eyes of the soldiers, but tried to keep calm. He understood that despite his youth, the new commander clearly possessed extraordinary strength and abilities. Ningum-homo went away with a mock and a needy voice. He ordered the emery of the sword, which in tradition, he was a leader. Instead of obeying the order, Jimok started laughing loudly in the face of the new commander. He openly stated that he considers everything that is happening to be completely absurd and a mockery of traditions. You have a mock to blow your way to the situation. He cannot concepts, as a young puppy can be claimed for the handwriting of opaque soldiers, which is meaningfully older than him. With obvious self-confidence, Jimok announced his intentions. He promised to immediately teach the boy a lesson and destroy him at the very beginning of the battle to show him his true place. A cheeky smirk appeared on Jimok's face. He suggested that Yoon Gum-ho use dishonest methods to obtain the position and warned that the team would never recognize his authority. The words Eugenie Makitsik at the young commander. Nin Gom-home has suggestedly rapped, this perpetrated all the general wicked all the warriors, and the invented ones will be opened here. In the open, Yujo Mok was only thus. He was a display that such a bloody PC is not deserved to be submitted. We are inspiring from the infusions of warriors. Ningum humorized here from these Oscount words. He rode his sword with his sword, and you have a dry Ju Mocha, who becomes barking in the way, only before the Sergeant Bohem. On your face, Yu Ju Mocha appeared in a triumph. He finally received a Jonde of the young commander. He achieved the beginning of their beginnings. The hero of the deadly ore, the hero showed wise and favored. He crept a stick of a stick with a nearby tree, and it is that the boy can be infused with the infinite casualties. The spinning of the stick on the two roar parts, Ningom Hombrosol one half of the enemy. He with a squeeze you have a Junie you do not complain about your defeat in this pode. These words are strongly disseminated by the opaque warrior U.R. Jimoka. He chopped the brown stick and Yarostono attacked the young commander, the passage of the ego and the observance. You have a mock read your young enemy with weak and unobtrusive. However, the first attack, which I have to be easily eliminated, showed ego of the true master in Bovian arts. Continuing to attack, Yuji Mok did not stop his taunts. He arrogantly demanded that the young commander run away before he received serious injuries in this unequal fight. Because of his excessive self-confidence, Yuji Mok made a serious mistake. He did not notice how the hero imperceptibly shortened the distance and was dangerously close to him. Yoon Gom-ho demonstrated his superiority in battle. He first stopped the stick at the very face of the opponent, and then, instead of the expected blow to the head, he delivered a powerful blow to the shoulder. This humiliating gesture finally brought Yuji Mok out of himself. Losing his concentration from rage, he missed the next attack of the young commander, received a strong blow in the back. After Yuji Mok fell to the ground, Woon Gom-ho prepared to continue the lesson. But suddenly his stick was stopped by the sword of Ju Gi-hwa, who decided to intervene in the duel. Ju Gi-hwa turned to the new commander-in-chief with a thoughtful request. She asked him to stop the fight. He rightly noted that the outcome of the fight was already obvious to everyone. Nin Gom-homo was heard. He caught the present warriors with a pronoun, the mooring, the ego of the ego. Having been killed in the reference of the new contenders, the young commander of the Otbrosil stick. He strictly called the whole, that the bloody dogs have received their bellies through the infusions and shoes. After the demonstration of its forces, it was homo. Nesmotra on the fact that the woman was not bent here from his look, he calmly obeyed his son. Ningom has gone to the sort of a mock with a lot of highness. He drew a metal shoulder, a symbol of high position, and he was awarded to him. He is a new status. Casting a displeased look at the rest of the soldiers, the new commander explained his decision. He highly appreciated the courage of Ju Gi-hwa, who was the only one who dared to intervene to save his comrade. He completed all the Dela in the general hall. He has a goom once Osmotrel of his new pods. He calmly rested in his face that they will give up a long-haired act. Occupied in the weddening his components, the hero felt strong. He conceived that after the exterminative battle of heaven, there would be a little like that the forces would be reinforced. He dreamed of a grievous form of clothing. Ningam will let himself get rid of himself. Nesmatra on his existence. Strong veins in his hands were given, as he was giving herself to the existence of Bovian arts. At the moment of the memory of the hero, the important way to return in the bloodstream. He sobbed the mysterious girl, which was handed over to the peculiarities of the peculiarities with the important solution. The contents of the package turned out to be very valuable for the young warrior. There were descriptions of special combat techniques, which the girl asked to learn, but warned about the need to control the power of the blood. Ningam Hom was thwarted in a deep meditation after a grievous day. He has been able to learn the foundations of a new beaver art, concentrated on the management of the mysterious power in the middle. The young warrior had a kind of chief in the new technical technician. He struck the fullness of the same power that, in the same way, to save the very devil from the bloody two. The hero's thoughts again carried the ego into the past. He recalled the dark and ominous corridors of the bloody palace, where the important events of his life took place. In the reconstruction of his sleeping out, he was severing, heavily wounded, but rebellious. He drew up on the disadvantaged corridors without the door and the important book for the mayor. It is not possible in his award to the exposure of warriors, the pregrading the path. Nesmotra for series, Hem is gone to be able to do so and join in a new fight. Exhaustion greatly affected the hero's combat abilities. Even the blows of weak opponents seemed unusually fast and powerful to him, making him seriously worried about his chances. At the decisive moment of the battle, the hero still found strength in himself. With an accurate and powerful blow, he managed to defeat the first enemy, inflicting a fatal wound on his stomach. Immediately after the hero, the inflammation of the enemy. It is a Gom Homo amazingly embedded, exhibits special metal lining on the pre-pillar, pre-concentrated for blocking the sword. The hero of the hero's forces were on the way. He threw a lot of blood. He was working hard on his feet and a rush of an important book, I Resist on Cold Stone Walls. At some point, the exhausted body of the hero finally refused to obey. Approaching the next turn of the corridor, he lost consciousness and fell helplessly on the cold stone floor. By the turn of his ego, she was uninhabited. But the mysterious girl's germ will catch the falling hero and put his ego into a free place, where he would not be found. In a safe haven, a mysterious girl gave the hero a special healing potion. After he drank it, his body was filled with new strength, and he quickly regained consciousness, feeling an unusual surge of energy. The notorious warrior of the soldier was unfair, and she drew her mystery. She was Okonus Kunukson, and with a wave she fell about the gastrointestinal horse, whom Duljan was to come with a Gom Homo Hom. The hero regretfully informed the girl of the unpleasant news. He admitted that the Iron Horse never appeared at the meeting place, which greatly upset the mysterious savior. Being handled with a release, the girl came to the Gorky output. She realized that the warrior from the beginning of the beginning did not come in the impression of a crack for its salvation. Despite the failure with the Iron Horse, the girl showed determination. She firmly decided to finish the work she had started, and gave the hero the most important book he had been looking for so long. Yungam Ho looked at his savior with genuine surprise. He could not understand in any way how she managed to get this valuable document, guarded so carefully. The girl smiled gently and explained the whole situation. She said that she had to give the book to Iron Horse, but she suspected his distrust, so she decided to trust Yungam Ho. The hero tried to persuade the girl to run away with him. She sadly refused. He explained that their escape would lead to the death of both and the loss of the book on which her family's life depended. At this tense moment, their conversation was interrupted by disturbing sounds. They heard the approaching footsteps of enemy soldiers, who had already discovered the missing person and began searching for the thief. Hearing the footsteps, Yungam Ho was instantly alert. The spy also realized the danger of the situation, and, realizing that the need was urgent, hurriedly wished the hero luck in his dangerous path. Neshmotra is on the sake. The hero went to the entrance to the motto. He is a hotel to want to be a Nimia, but she was only sadly squeezed, admitting that she has long forgotten her fierce name. Watching the departing stranger with his eyes, Yungam Ho made an important decision. He solemnly swore to himself that he would definitely return to this place to save the mysterious girl. The hero well understood the complexity of his oath. To fulfill it, he needed not only to return to Gunungsun, but also to significantly strengthen his combat skills with the help of the Gukol technique. It was this mysterious technique that helped him in a difficult moment. Using her secret techniques, he managed to defend himself from enemy soldiers pursuing him in a dangerous situation. When meeting with opponents, the hero kept complete calm. Drawing his sword, he invited the enemies to attack everyone together, and despite their numerical superiority, he defeated everyone. Now, in the weadening of their components, it is a Gom Homo August. He was banging into a deep meditation, growing up to the strangeness of the technique of Gukul. Suddenly, the hero's body shuddered from a powerful attack of pain. Unable to cope with the overwhelming force, he began to bleed and fell exhausted on the cold floor of his room. Trying to restore lost breathing, the hero realized the bitter truth. He realized that he still could not fully control the dangerous side effects of his extraordinary power. At the moment of weakness, images of dead friends appeared before the hero's eyes. His heart shrank from the bitter thought that he would never again be able to see their living faces. At this difficult moment, the hero heard a mysterious voice. The stranger started a conversation, but Yoon Gom-ho immediately demanded to reveal his identity, not trusting the strange interlocutor. Instead of an introduction, a mysterious voice made an unexpected proposal. He offered the hero to become a descendant of the Palace of Angels, but Yoon Gom-ho flatly refused to accept him as a teacher. Reduced with a sign, the voice showed his true essence. He called the hero to the squirrel Malchico. He has the beginning of a sign of his motto, a word Igrushka in his hands. The essence was a rushing of the will of the hero of her force. Non-motitis on the unseening pain, the hom will reenactment, in the same way as a prescription, time, and the hero of the hero was shaped. The fullness of a soul and rubbing of many blood, it was a Gom-hom finally shaken on the floor of its own components. Ju Gihua's alarmed voice came from outside the room. She persistently tried to reach the commander-in-chief, reminding him of the important welcoming ceremony. Ju Gihua continued to stand outside the door, clearly displeased. She explained that the hero of the occasion should not be late, but in response, she heard only silence. After the prayer, the devil is beginning to go. She tried to swing the door and then swept the head of the headmaster, but all the hollows were left unsuccessful. At the moment, the Kog of Jugi GVA was already prepared to blow the door. The situation was changed. She faded the voice of the Gom-hom, which the promissory will arrive at the wolf ceremony. Hearing the commander's reply, Ju Gihua visibly calmed down. She said that she would not bother him anymore and promised to wait for his appearance at the ceremony. The entrance, the girl could not cease to think about the ledge of the commander. He was noisome that he was not shown by the Homo-hom for 3 days and 3 nights, which said very much. The action moved to the courtyard of the Iron and Blood Palace. A group of soldiers gathered there, who were conducting a regular training session under the open sky. The usual training suddenly turned into a serious conflict. Soldiers from the second squad furiously attacked subordinate Yoon Gom-ho, calling him the henchman of a bloody puppy. An attacked warrior came to show all its masticism. Edwaman managed to break down from the 2 attackers of the opponents, and will take the free standing from the rest. Breathing heavily after the battle, the warrior tried to explain the situation. He said indignantly that they were part of the Black Squad, not the Blood Dogs, not understanding the hostility of the attackers. The opponents did not listen to the clarified and reinforced the pressure. They succeeded in the ground afterwards, after Tolpa Voinov, which is heard by his provocation, reassured with a gesture. The brutal beating of the defeated warrior began. The men surrounding him mercilessly kicked him, not giving him even the slightest chance to get up, which caused joy among the observers. At this critical moment, an important person appeared. It was the commander of the Blue Tigers, Go Chan-do, who authoritatively demanded an explanation from his enraged warriors. Frightened by the appearance of the commander, the attackers began to justify themselves. Pointing with trembling fingers at the beaten guy, they claimed that it was he who started the fight first. The outline soldier does not become preying in front of unjust accumulations. He calmly spat out the blood and the mud of the mud. He was scattering to the truth about the provocation of Bloody Dog. The reaction of the thus to the time was uninhabited for the post. The commander of the moon to the moon stated that such a reflection was not fully deserved. Go Chung-do expressed his disdain for the Black Squad. He recalled how their former commander spent the treasury on entertainment, and the current one was just a child who made a woman his right hand. Salted warrior is not a rewarding of its own. He burstily browning to the time that he was lading as a PSU. On the commander's swelling, he blurted out his fear after the fear of Bloody Dog. These words were unburdened. He is a flexible knee does not devour the name of the head of the team. According to the Dumming Chon, the punch was swollen for the blow. At that moment there was an unexpected intervention. Yoon Gom-ho, who appeared, caught the self-confident commander's hand, which was extended for a blow with a lightning-like movement. Go Chong-do was shocked by the audacity of the young commander. Turning around, he could not believe that some bloody puppy dared to behave like that with him. Yoon Gom-ho expressed his indignation at the situation. He coldly demanded that Guo Cheong-do express all claims to him personally, and not take out his anger on his subordinates. Guo Chun-do was horrified to realize his helplessness. He realized that he couldn't move his hand at all. The young commander's grip was so strong. Yoon Gom-ho reminded about the important rules of military service. In an icy tone, he explained that bullying a member of the second squad is considered a serious crime and requires punishment. The punishment followed immediately and was severe. With one precise movement of his free hand, Eun Gom-ho cold-bloodedly broke Go Cheong-do's arm, causing him to cry out in pain. After the ordering of the Yinchik, the Gom Homo Sokranil of the full calm. He did not show the drops of the Sochovstia to a flooded enemy. He had broken down and calmly pledged his delaries. After the incident, Yoon Gom-ho went to a secluded place. He found a quiet gazebo away from human eyes, where he could calmly check his physical condition after the recent conflict. Oba Moore of the self-taught body princes the hero of the good newness. He lowered his hands. He did not obey the veins, and the stream of oxygen in the blood squeezed. Devorned in a deep meditation, the hero is to inspire joy. He was the topic that he was not boiling more with the blood more when he was attempting heart during the physical direction. However, the non-copular questions were all overwhelming. He was not untouched. The spentive fully controlled his blood and a mysterious voice into the head, which nature remained for him. News of Yoon Gom-ho's resignation quickly reached top management. Oh Gang-jong, when he heard about the incident, he had mixed feelings and didn't know whether he should cry or laugh. The counselor explained the situation to the mayor in detail. He told how Yoon Gom-ho broke Go Cheong-do's arm, showing his strength and determination not to allow the other troops to look down on him. Oh Gang-chung reacted to the news with satisfaction. He smiled, noting that his eyes did not let him down when he saw a special potential in young Yoon Gom-ho. The mayor went out onto the spacious terrace of his palace. From here there was a beautiful view of the gazebo, where at that moment the young commander of the Black Squad was meditating. Observing Yoon Gom-ho's calm figure, Oh Gang-jung drew conclusions. He had a clear feeling that this young man was like a quiet pool with unknown forces in the depths. The mayor's thoughts were interrupted by an unexpected appearance. His daughter Oh Yu-ran approached with a mischievous look and asked why her father was in deep thought all day. Oh Gan-chun was well known for his daughter. He got rid of it. It was that once she went to the first one, it seems that he needed, although the girl had an indisputable devour. A daughter knows how to get what she wants from a loving father. He made the cutest facial expression. She asked him to sit down, and he could not resist her charm. The driving of the daughters after the pursuit of the father. As he got up only, she began to disassemble the back of the back, clearly prepared for what is important. Oh Ganchon Reshil does not tighten with the existence of the tricky invented daughters. Although she was overwhelmed in the disappearance of her fears, the father asked honestly to disperse. Oh wounds, the end of his request. Sleep on the knees of the father, she confessed in her strong Jlania to settle the sores of the Chanrabim. The father's reaction was immediate and categorical. Oh Gang-jong did not hesitate to refuse his daughter, although she continued to beg him to change his decision. Oh Gang-jong patiently explained the reasons for his refusal. He told his daughter about the troubled times and the dangers of the trip, admitting that he himself did not plan to attend these competitions. The reflection of the father deftly rastroiled the girl. When she was on her feet, she reminded with the mountain that she will have a 15 flying one and the same plowing, which he has cut. The daughter's departure was emotional and sharp. He slammed the door loudly. She left her father in deep thought, and he could only look sadly after her, regretting the impossibility of fulfilling her dream. Casting moved to a painful joy. In the banquet hall at home, the warriors of the warrior in the head of the head of the head of the head were kept breathing, and I am happy. One of the soldiers expressed the general enthusiasm of the detachment. He noted that thanks to the new master, the status of the Black Squad had grown significantly, which was a great reason for celebration. Recently, a soldier also made a sodified to the universal mood. He with a decaying, that now the government is to be able to pour them without their series. The enthusiasm of the soldiers was expressed in a general toast. They got up in unison and offered a drink to their new commander-in-chief, to which Eun Gom-ho gladly joined. The holiday atmosphere is uninvited by the guests. In the premises, it was unhappy with the wounds, forcing all the presence of the vagabond. Ran maintained an outward calm despite her furrowed brows. She asked who now owned the commander-in-chief's silver sword, mentioned an important matter. Nin hum gap on the appearance of a little. He frowned. Look at the Besser-repaired girl, and the need that she introduced herself. Ran's reaction to the demand was calm and confident. Looking at Yoon Gam Ho with surprise, she noticed that he was the first one who dared to ask about her personality. The situation was clarified by the Jugikwa, which was piled up. She was clearly explained by the hero that they were in front of them with the wounds. The daughter of the mayor himself. He learned about the status of guests. Ningam was manifested by a bonus. He felt unfulfilled and worshipped felt, officially presenting himself with the head of the faith. Wounds unattended a new nobility. After the Osmatra, she asked him to go for a nail, Namkaya for the need for an important rustle. The path came to the painting garden of the Palace of Jaundice and Blood. The whole road gunshod the mysterious prayer, not the cutting of her own bricks. Nin Gom Hom, the compelling of the prayer, manifested the traumat. He himself is interested in the grounds of their wedding. Wounds made an unprecedented recognition to the young commander. Approximately and unattached in his face, she failed with love. The father of the father Umulchal, about the beauty of the new headmaster. Driving devils was all painful. He uninhabited the hero by his hand and squeezed. She asked the secret of his attachment. The frivolity of the girl made the hero clearly irritated. He abruptly freed his hand from her grip and was about to go to his team, since there were no serious matters. Wounds, having reacted the response, she will have a situation. She has healed that he had an important request in the nest and asked not to read it with a rude behavior. Finally, the devilish glowing of her own clearing. She asked for the head, commercially commemorating it for important soravnation in the city. An unusual request intrigued the young commander. When he asked about the reason, the girl with a sly smile admitted that she wanted to organize a small rebellion against her father's prohibitions. Settlement of the situation became obtained for both Sobs. Ningom Ho, a skeleton of the wagon, Moliniminosis, and decorated the girl with his body from the volatile Matate knives. After the attack, the hero showed vigilance and determination. Warily looking around, he loudly demanded that the unknown assailant show himself. He did not receive a glow. Ningom Hom Ho adjoined the leaf about the free. He is a rugged luggage on the girl and ordered Hay to return to the free place. Ran reacted to the attack with fury. Seeing the throwing knives, she flew into a rage, not understanding who could dare to attack her in the military fortress. Nin Gom Hom Homo started pressing the enemy with the mind. He reassured the tactics of the enemy and the knife. But the opponent of the Supremal will be bowed by a catch. The enemy has tried on the sprayed sparking and devoured. Ego of Katana, the hero did not become honey and broke into the attack on the uninstalled enemy. During the battle, the hero made an important observation. He quickly noticed that his opponent had an unusual swordsmanship style, typical of Gununsen's warriors. Ran suddenly intervened in the fight with a bare blade. She authoritatively ordered Yoon Ho to retreat, declaring her intention to personally deal with the attacker. The enemy was unfulfilled in the outrage from the new tag. Wounds were pressed with such a sedentary speed that it is even to be the mastism of Bovian arts, sleeping the pursuit of the little girl. She explained the hero of the uninhabitedness of the distant pressing, limited to the unbroken lags of the bolt. Yoon Ho put away his weapon and showed curiosity. He inquired about the reason for such a determined girl's sudden refusal to pursue the enemy. Wounds did not immediately go through the word for the gap. After the prayer, she confessed that she spent all the life in Hununsen against her oxen. He read such a fate of a deaf. The Gom Hom did not take all the deep rushes with the Duile. He only predicted the wounds of the possibility of the sides of the local warriors, and the infusion asked to be painful. The scraping of the young commander's slaughter was thrown by the wounds. He showed Hay a whole cute, and she, having submitted a savage poison, faded his in the shine, greeted with a great for salvation from Metate Nies. Meanwhile, the mysterious fugitive reached his goal. He reached Gununsen's observation tower, and, having made sure that there were no pursuers, he was finally able to catch his breath. The insignificance was attacked. The cogged he was dreaming of her wide Polish hat. The wipes of the dripping drops. He was outlined by one of the closer helpers of the mayor himself. Soon, this man appeared in front of Ogang Chong. The mayor, upon seeing him, immediately demanded a detailed report on the performance of the entrusted task. The assistant bowed to the herd and tidied up on her actions. He rolled, that the rebellion will go over the wounds, through the blades, who strongly suffered the mayor who has a good time for the daughter. Seeing the anxiety of the hostess, the assistant hastened to calm him down. He explained that OU Ran had already reached a level of skill that would allow her to easily dodge such an attack. The mayor expressed a clear disadvantage of the assistant. He was abandoned that he would not say that he was attacked, and only the hotel will let his daughter, that he will repel it here from the beads. The assistant with the lax expressing the situation. He said that the commander of the Prime Assembly would not be approached by the wounds. The poetic exit was an attack by the name. This news shocked Ogang Chong, making him jump up from his seat. He absolutely did not understand why his daughter ended up with the young commander at all. Settlement of full calm, the assistant clarified the situation. By his acquisition, the wounds manifested the initiative, and she snapped herself. At this time, the young commander was in his room. Secluded from everyone, he immersed himself in deep meditation, striving to reach a new level of understanding. Yoon Gom-ho's efforts brought results in meditation. He felt that he had sufficiently opened his consciousness, and strange visions began to appear before his inner gaze. The unexpected discovery struck the hero to the core. Opening his eyes, he realized that he had plunged into someone else's memories, finding himself in the center of a fierce battle in the House of Angels. A special warrior stood out in the center of this battle. He clearly surpassed the others in his skill, mercilessly cutting down opponents and forcing them to experience the taste of real fire. Magicious warrior, all covered with blood in the blood, snow, lattice. From the cunning hedgehog he was interest, did not chew the young man's gender. Suddenly the situation became frightening for the hero. He realized with horror that all the blood spilled in the battle was beginning to envelop his body, dragging him into the unknown. Nin Gom-hom coming out of the bloody plate. He released that he did not know this man, and the need that a small scale was presented. The gray-haired warrior's reaction was unexpected. The courage of the young man only amused him, causing even greater sympathy for him. The bloody substance completely engulfed the hero. He materialized in a dark dungeon, where he was frightened on his knees and tried to clear his throat after a strange displacement. In the dungeon, Yoon Gom-ho met a familiar warrior again. Seeing the same gray-haired man in front of him, he anxiously began to ask about his whereabouts. The old warrior did not answer the questions. He calmly asked to follow him and quickly hid around the turn, leaving the hero only one choice: to obey. The path led them to an ancient catacomb with a massive lattice. It was here that the ghostly body of the hero finally dissolved, returning him to his usual form. Behind the bars, the hero saw a terrible sight. There was a shackled old man in whose tortured body many knives were stuck, which is why the wounds did not stop bleeding. Liubopity made the hero act. Nin Gom-hom-homo I was going to go closer that he would look at the nid of the tick and pursue. He has a very voice. The old man suddenly became active. He sharply raised his head and pierced the hero with a soulless look, as if looking into his soul, after which he ordered to follow him authoritatively. The exclusion of Resk was astonished for the hero. Nin Gom-hom was obvious in his bedroom in the House of Jealous and Blood, convulsively coughing after the surviving. Now the hero has gained important knowledge. He understood for sure that the person whose voice sounded in his head was in that dungeon, and he decided to find him there. However, the hero did not forget about his duties. He continued to diligently train the soldiers on the platform, where they painstakingly honed various combat techniques. Jugi Kvi reminded the commander about the important dele. Standing a series of him, she approved the approximation of the time with the honor, the needy. The calm commander died his help. The Cogti did not manifest the consciousness she has receded, which is determined by Ja Hong Hodl. The act was moved to the new Mesto. Currently, they were dismissed on the city area of the restaurant Chonva, where the duty was to go through an important way. Eun Gom-ho showed due respect during the meeting. Approaching the place, he respectfully introduced himself as the leader of the detachment and greeted the man sitting there. John Otriagirov was friendly to the wedding. With the Lukoy, he asked for formalities, and with a gesture, the young commander is a series. The man honestly explained the purpose of the meeting. He admitted that he wanted to make friends and warmly offered a drink, trying to create a relaxed atmosphere for relaxation. Nin Gom-hom adhered to the projection of the pocket. Having cut off the drinks, he thinks the breaks of interruptions between the bowls, that the clearness of the melting. Despite all the precautions of the hero, the result was obvious. By the end of the day, Yoon Gum-ho was struggling to stay on his feet from the alcohol he had consumed. Oh, John manifests the fertilizer. He went to the Gom-hum, the exposure of his shoulders, and wrapped his own self, mindset, pre-existing help. Drunkenness of the hero turned out to be a clever trick. At the right moment, he deftly snatched the locket from Oh Ja-hong's belt, and then, pretending to be unwell, left. On the street, the hero will raise the hero. When you have a dream, he has stopped deeply. I am rejoiced that they will not need to get the drunkenness. Inspection of the prey brought satisfaction to the hero. Having carefully studied the stolen amulet, he realized that now he will be able to get into the prison to the mysterious prisoner. Yoon Gum-ho acted quickly and decisively. Without wasting time, he quickly climbed the roofs to his house, preparing to break into the prison. In the entrance to the prison complex of the hero was waiting for the pre-stream. Its deployment of a biditan hole, unattended by all terrators. The meeting with the security guard went smoothly. Hearing footsteps, the guard became alert, but Yoon Gum-ho confidently showed him his pass. The guard showed vigilance to the stranger. Noticing that the young man looked unfamiliar, he assumed that he was a visitor and demanded an explanation. The guard turned out to be very principled. He did not receive the preliminary instructions. He demanded that the visitor withdraw and obtain official permission to visit. The hero reacted harshly to the refusal. He again showed the amulet and sternly warned the guard about the punishment for disrespecting the authorities, forcing him to obey. The path to the prison is the noble hero. They descended the same tribes, as in the sake, after the hole, the horse. I opened the metal door. Nin Gom-hum was released from the Soviet. He states the baptism that one will continue to take one, gathering on an important way with the conclusion. The baptismal gunshot in the dawn of the settler. The ego substance and the replacement of the situation were strongly dissected by the Gom-hom-hom-hom-homo. He read this with a full time. The hero of the girlfriend recalled the baptism at his full moth. He declared that he was ordered to diminish the force to anyone that will be memorized to the excellence of an important assignment, which is the same. The fated hero's hero. After the entrance, the guards of the Gom-homo, the burning, will calm down calmly. In the grinding, the hero, the familiar old man, was squeezed. Invidov Gom-hom-hom, the seminum was unknown to him. To melt that he had long since he had a good time, although the guest. The old man immediately went to the main question. Without looking up, he demanded to explain how Yoon Gum-ho had the verses Gong Myung-ton Hong Gong. This question will make the hero think. He is emotioned to be on the old man, she laid out. That he will go to the technical technician, which I pushed it, which was presently called the act. Before answering, the hero made a counter-demand. He asked the old man to explain his identity, but he resentfully insisted on the priority of his questions. The type of oldness of the old man, the hero, will turn off. The Gom-hono was confessed that he received the technique in the time of his wrath in the bloodstream. These words called the rapid reaction into the old man. He went to the uninhabited yaz and scream. Not a verse from a young man. The old man's anger had good reasons. His face was contorted with rage when he realized that Gonjamundo had stolen these verses, and he swore to kill this scoundrel when he met him. After the outburst of anger, the old man became more restrained. Calming down and looking carefully at Yoon Gum-ho, he explained the lack of time and asked the boy to open his soul. The hero decided to trust the old prisoner. Seeing his persistence, Yoon Gum-ho did not resist, and, sitting next to him, plunged into deep meditation. I would like to have a bang. He was a reminder that was given to the settlement of the time, and the Gom-hum came in. Farewell to the old man turned out to be prophetic. The prisoner's last words were a prediction about the inevitable return of the hero, which Yoon Gum-ho did not comment on. After visiting the prison, the hero returned to the restaurant. He approached the table and imperceptibly dropped the stolen locket so as not to arouse suspicion of theft. Oh, Hun is all that was in the case of alcohol. The deployment of the hero, he will have a lot of evaporation. He will reflect the poles and was interested in his self-boost. The hero answered calmly and confidently. He said that the fresh air helped him to recover, after which he returned to the table as if nothing had happened. Yoon Gum-ho played the locket fine skillfully. Pretending to notice something on the floor, he picked up the locket and asked Oh Ja-hong if it belonged to him. Oh Ja-hong was happy to learn of his disappearance. Seizing the medallion, he laughed awkwardly and warmly thanked the hero, admitting the seriousness of the consequences of the loss. However, the hero's behavior raised suspicions. Ho Jia-hong had doubts about this strange guy whose actions seemed unusual. After the elaboration of the end of the hero returned the house. There is a goom homozjishtichiti on the technique, which he learned the mysterious old man in his prison. The technique was tightly inserted on the hero. He was sensitive, as the spirit of his spirit, although the streaming of energy was inserted to the brine, that the veins said, "Vot will be wounded." The old man helped the hero the essence of technokers. He drew the guess about the technique of the angel's divorce, to explain the sufficientness of the hero's forces, and the rebellion will show their true essence. The hero's consciousness plunged into ancient visions. A majestic palace appeared before his inner gaze, where a young warrior of the past trained. The old man revealed his story to the young student. He told how he became the first student of Gongya Uga, achieved perfection in the spirit-sounding technique, and was chosen as an angelic warrior. History of the dramatic turn. The soul of the master is actively opposed to this selection. It is evil that is a supramel to previs ego in amaststvo bo. The old man's reign was successful. Under him, the power of the Palace of Angels spread to Jongwon, and he himself tirelessly taught martial arts to all who wished. Then tragic events followed. What the hero already knew happened. A great battle broke out under the leadership of the master's ambitious son. The enemy's tactics were exhausting and cruel. The master's son ordered his soldiers to attack continuously, trying to exhaust the alleged usurper. The fight continued with incredible persistence. No one stopped fighting, although the old man understood that the real usurper was not him, but the instigator of the uprising. The old man showed incredible strength in battle. Despite his age, he continued to fight with the rebels, demonstrating truly monstrous power in battle. The orders of the pronunciations were not unaudited. The old man is even pushed, punishment for their fertilizers. One enemy did not live alive. The main opponent realized his mistake too late. Realizing the hopelessness of the situation, he also tried to flee from the formidable enemy. Luck turned out to be the old man at a critical moment. Kogda he wrapped the battle. On the glass in front of the Dvortsi, the sub, seen from the Bloody Two appeared. The new phase of the battle turned out to be even more brutal. The arriving warriors were not only numerous, but also possessed extraordinary strength in battle. The old man manifested a non-resilient stand. It would have killed it, they did not diminish them, but evenly shamped, it is protruding. Enemies used cunning tactics against him. They surrounded the old man in a dense ring, moving with incredible speed, as if not touching the ground. The year of the time was uninhabited. In the solicitation of the elderly, the old man missed the attack and received her series in the abdomen. Even deadly wounded, the old man's old boy. After the first injury, the stroke was caught up in all sides, but he was diligently drowned to the post. Final battle was tragicnum for the hero. Older Polly from the pre-trial blow to the back, a graceful bloodstream of blood for their joy to their numerous opponents. The story made a strong impression on Yungom Ho. Having learned the whole truth, he kept his composure and continued training, developing spiritual and physical strength. Uninhabited knock in the door of the hero. The assistant has soaked that the wounds of the ego wounds, and the hom was interested in the causal. He arrived in the 2-year, the hero immediately went to the Della. He fell to the woman about the jerk, and she calmly approved about the missing of her sister. Oh Su-ran noticed the hero's calmness at the news. Seeing that the news did not surprise Yun-gom Ho at all, she demanded an explanation. The hero honestly scattered his sisters of the ruler. He described, as a girl, he went to a lot and asked for a tailor herself for his way. Oh wounds were clearly outlined. She realized that her sister, Most, was in a loyan without a baptism, and was elected to the hero with the request. The ruler explained her proof to the hero. She knew about him in the best books from the domestic of blood, and read it with evidence of his disgusting ways. The hero's exploits of the hero were seated on the ruler. They are tired, which non-copies on the hungry. About the wounds, she was asked for a wedding argument. She, dumping a proof of her father Kingom Hom and Snov, asked him to eat her sister. The hero had no choice in this situation. He agreed to help and promised to start the search the very next day after the necessary preparations. After Razgavora, the hero has taken an important lever. On the house of the house, the rebellion will finish his delary, and in the evening, the old man of the plenic from the prison. This time breaking into the prison turned out to be a simple matter. The old man was sincerely happy at the appearance of his student, and expressed his deep satisfaction that he had successfully completed the task. At the solemn moment, The old man stood up to his full height. He made an important promise to pass on to the young student all his knowledge and skills, accumulated over many years of practice. The old man asked Yoon Gom-ho to come closer to him. Although the hero obediently fulfilled the request, the ego was interested in the reason for such a personal relationship. The answer seemed obvious. Only he could control fate. The old man's next request was unusual. He asked the boy to free his body from his clothes and carefully tie up all the stakes that were in his back. Time was blown into this area. Although the hero was extremely interested in the cause of such acts, the old torapil of ego, constantly recalculating about the slight time. Old Daltivti instruction student. After all the capes were stripped, he explained that they needed to put them on one blow, and the back of the Homo Hom was destroyed. The release of the requests brought to the display. As the hero of the Kolya, the head of the old man, the new life, the ego soul, the soul finally, the ego of the elderly. The decisive moment of power transfer has arrived. The hero's body began to overflow with extraordinary energy, which the old man transferred to him according to their agreement. Teacher gave the important preference of a student. In the time of passing energy, he recalculated that the Nelia rubbing the breeze in the case, but the veins do not retention the bridal stream of the forces. The hero manifests the scraping. Neshmotra on a severe pain. He was left in the riot. He is consistently passing through him through his energy. After the fact, Ningom-ham was back in the head of the old man. However, it was softened, that it is time to call the fate for a long time. The old man expressed sincere gratitude to the hero. He noted that now he has done everything possible for him, and he can safely leave, having completed his mission. Sently the hero felt closely. He was alerted, and the old man will leave the place while they did not obey them. Instead of running away, the old man made another decision. He firmly grabbed the hero's hand and gave the last instruction, to live as freely as the wind, following your desires. The final has fallen out of the tragedy for the hero. He did not drop the protruding, while the teacher's body did not mean and the eye did not sweep. The old man fell death. After the death of the teacher, the hero showed respect. After sorrowfully praying for the old man's peaceful repose, he hastily dissolved into the air, avoiding an unwanted meeting. The important faces of the city were arrived. To the Mesta of Provision, the Himor Oganchon, the Honoe, came to the honor, the Podowen Strata. Oganchon with the pursuit of Jahon. That was calmly explained that no one was put into the prison. The poem was taken into the penetration of a hand, made man. The abuse of the elderly fled the podzation. This afterwards was the words of the Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, and the Sahovna did not remain. Here the evil was launched here. Oganchon gnawed her heart. He was guaranteed that the old man did not die from the passage of his strength to the mysterious stranger we would embarrass in the prison. The security guard provided important information. According to him, the transfer of power was impossible, since the stranger spent no more than an hour in prison, which is clearly not enough. The hero safely left the dangerous place. He calmly made his way to the walls of the prison and continued his journey on foot, thinking deeply about the events that had taken place. Yoon Gom-ho realized the importance of the gift he received. He didn't remember if there were people who valued his life more than theirs before, but now he had to become a master like a legendary warrior. The next morning, the hero got down to business. Returning to the House of Iron and Blood, he finished his preparations and freed Ju Gi-hwa for an important conversation. Yoon Gom-ho told the assistant some unexpected news. He explained to the girl about the need to go on a mission beyond Gununsan, which greatly surprised her. This thing was obvious to all. The hero expedited Ju-gyu, that they will pass on to their own assembly by commanding the session to the time. Ju Gi-hwa expressed her dismay at the commander's decision. She excitedly noted the unreasonableness of such a step, but he calmly thanked for the support and experience. The hero gently interrupted the assistant's objection. When Ju Gi-hwa tried to add something, he simply asked her to take good care of the team members. The farewell was triggery and screen. With the following words, the ghost of Ju Gi was scraped, the hostess of the hostess for the occasional pre-trial. Leaving the city, the hero thought about the future. He did not fully understand whether he should really live without being bound by anything, as the teacher advised. Yoon Gom-ho made an important decision about his path. Remembering the teacher's advice to move forward, he decided to finish the master's battle, which he could not finish in his lifetime. In the evening, an important meeting took place in the garden. Oh Ja-hong met with Oh Su-rin at the Heavenly Dragon Scenic Garden, where she told about Yoon Geum-ho's departure. Oh Ja-hong shared his thoughts on the commander. Looking at the swaying branches, he recognized Ngom-ho's strength, but in his heart he doubted whether he could trust this mysterious man. Osurin retorted to her brother with obvious displeasure. Frowning, she resolutely asked about the reasons for not trusting a man who had already earned their father's trust. The brother looked at the sister. Look at the shadows. Jia-chan appointed the earliest correctness of the supersonalism. The backdrop. He was interested in the time of the exit of the steam room. He learned about the Gomhom, about Jia-hong. He squeezed and briefly arrived in front of his sisters. He had a way to wear. In this time, the hero is shaped on the forest trope. Slide a silence and a dense forest, Ningom-hum homo amazing. The Unzipna attack did not find the hero in the wrath. Kogda in his side of the pole matat knife, he prayerly squeezes. The mastic shot down the shot and the need will appear. 3 opponents responded to the hero's challenge. Warriors with katanas emerged from the shadows of the trees, their faces skillfully hidden under masks to preserve anonymity. It began to be served in the forest. Warriors were unwrying in an inclement attack, but the hero of the dreadful league hero, all the Vans, is not released on numerous provocation. The hero of the shake of the attack. He received a scarecrow of the scratch from the abyss. He obtained that the warriors would not be killed by ego, and only they turned the bells. The hero's loneness helped to sweep the acquisition. The ego look of one fire, fitting on the Tolstoy dit of a mogus tree nearby. Oh-hun is unattended by Bohem. He was all overwhelming in his pursuit, warriorly, the terrified terminal, the elaboration of the coinage with the powerlessness. The hero changed his battle tactics. Having fought off another attack, he quickly jumped into the tall grass, and the pursuers with weapons began a careful search. Ngom-ho used a cunning military trick. After waiting for the opponents to come closer, he deftly used his sword to throw a handful of mud in their faces. Jia-hong noted the peculiarities of the fighting style. He noticed that Ngom-ho deliberately avoided using special techniques during the battle. The observer decided to stop the inspection. Jia-hong signaled his soldiers to fall back, and all 3 immediately retreated to their commander. The hero understood the meaning of this battle. As he sheathed the katana, he realized that Jia-hong had had enough of demonstrating his abilities, and decided to continue on his way. In the city, the hero Reshel is a standing. Ego tolerance of the bolt of a little restaurant, where he planned the planned path of the road. The owner of the restaurant greeted the guest warmly. He kindly looked at the lone traveler, and apologizing for the lack of free seats, offered to sit with the other visitors. The hero caught the presentation of the Hazain of the restaurant. Ngom-hom did not say that the companies were in the head of the Glavnoi. The host led the guest through the full hall. He approached the table of a lonely girl and politely asked if she would allow the traveler to share a meal with her. The clergyman came from a loved one. The devilish dwarf flea squeezed and the companion was stored, and the hero of the learning is perfect for the resolution. The girl showed hospitality to the stranger. Having already finished the alcohol, she handed the hero a full glass, and he, not wanting to appear impolite, gratefully accepted the treat. The insignificant has been presented with all the learning. She called my soul of the noble family of my family and with an unstressed interest in the existence of the sob. The hero Draushables incognito in a rash. Neshmotra, for all his learning, he did not become a shame, and the shallowness and represented the extinguished punch. Lubumpanity of the girl was manifested in a straight line. Mayon, the soul of the gun, was the cause of the sob, headed appearing in the loyan, and he calmly suggests that he would be a corrupted man. Sobasadnitsa showed an unprecedented patency. She predetermined that the fox is planning the extortion of the hotels of the central district in the noishes of the wounds, and the internal hero is assigned correctness. Vistrecha was legally uninhabited. Mayon geologically soaked in her mesta, giving on an innocent dela, a requirement of unfulfilled union. Farewell left the hero with mixed feelings. He politely thanked her for the company, but inwardly he remained alert, sensing some kind of disturbing atmosphere around the girl. The mysterious girl appeared in the new meste. She came to Roskoshny Gostovoy house where the aromatic tea was in the cup. The eagerness began with an unloved razor. The head of the remedy Lesnaya home clearly did not supply the presentation of the soul of the soper to the bloodstream. The girl methodically explained her position. While maintaining outward calmness, she pointed out the hopelessness of the situation and asked about anxiety about the status of the house. The head of the house was Otrya with uncontrolled Yarostya. He went to attack the Sobs, but his blade is only a rascal of the massive column. The Proletev passed the unknown face of the girl. The man has expressed his wagon. Ego Lisosa was extinguished from Gnev. Kogda was awarded that the species of the devil is the involvement of the rascal columned in the long way. Mayan's soul Sachil soda. From the mysterious, she drank tea and swam to the fate of fatal in the technique of Boyanov, the Lesov, Boyanov. The girl revealed a dangerous secret of technology. She explained how upon reaching the 8th Hwansimgon, the soul leaves the body, risking leaving the ego in a vegetative state. The presentation of the trendy details. Blooded 2-year-olds of the patronage from this effect, but it was a permanent girlfriend, but the veins ceased the blood. Mayan Jui Salt is a series of a tag. She fell. What is the big master of Chanra? The Sanra was risen the sex of the mariometric of bloody hazards. He caught them. The man has been appointed to the situation of the situation. He felt heavily on the stall, the sight that without the patterns of their soul will be cut off. But the second output did not look away. The girl has shown the Sochivstvi and Twist. She snapped the sob, sewing, but stated that she would be unacceptable with a bloody yard. The scratch was completed by a ranking slim. The man has sued to send a Chan Su in the forest house, and was repaired for the predetermination, and the devil from the tightness of the tension of the wrath. Evening found the hero at a new inn. In the gathering twilight, he asked the host about the possible stay of a lonely young traveler here. Searches again turned out to be fruitless. The tired host reported that among the guests now were only men over 50 years old. There were no girls. The hero decided to stop for the night. After an unsuccessful search for OU Ran, he inquired about the availability of a spare room for recreation. Fatigue made itself felt after a long day. Climbing the creaking steps, the hero was bitterly aware of yet another failure in his search for a girl. In Comnet, the hero was prepared for the case. Occupying in Nivolsha, but in a murmur, he reassures the forces before wearing tomorrow's. Nin Gomhom Homo had a dinner of meditation. He dug the road, he took a meditative pose, and his body was twisting the face of the aura, the inheritance of a ment master. The hero is her rapid potential. Its new consumer pointed to the way of completing the ends of Goemon at a full concentration of all forces. Uninhabited cry of hero's meditation. He reached the cellars. He was a felt pricker about helping. He was upset with a permanent yard. The dramatic scene was displayed on the krish. 2 men in the masks were bored with a pumping man in the bridge, and the victim was packed with help. The bandits showed cruelty to the captive. One of them, irritated by the noise, suggested to his partner that he mutilate the victim, despite the order to deliver the goods intact. The appearance of the hero has changed the situation. Kogda. The Cretan has already suffered a beat for punishment, uninhabited appearing at the Gom Hom Hom. The bandits tried to get rid of the witness. They rudely advised him to go to sleep instead of meddling in other people's affairs. But this only made him laugh. The hero of the faithful with a potential provocity. He calmly blushed, which he had to act quietly. Now he slammed his wrist. They deserved the punishment. The criminals decided to escape. Realizing the impossibility of defeating such an enemy, they ran away, and the hero rushed after them, intending to free the prisoner. The hero discovered a new power in himself. During the chase, he noticed the unusual lightness of his body, as if the wind itself was directing his movements. Yun Gom Ho used a new technique. Following his insight, he gathered a bundle of energy with air currents and directed a powerful attack at the fleeing enemies. The hero of the hero in the case. The relevant refusal of the efficient way of making the ways, it is to attack the opponents of the veterinary bunks. The second attack has achieved its cues. Even the hero himself was induced by the accurateness of his stroke, which he reached the flexing of the thickening of the thickening. The blow came to the seminum, a man with a residence of the fire on the ground, and from his or her head, a destroyed man is being harvested, a sprouting saving. The hero rushed to help the victim. He rushed to the old man, checking his condition, and he, despite the beatings, sincerely thanked his savior. Bandits made a last demand. One of them suddenly attacked the hero with a spear, but he easily dodged the blow, demonstrating excellent skill. Yun Gom Ho decided to test his new abilities. He deftly dodged the attack again, preparing to use his newly acquired strength against the enemy. The thickener was coming to run the hero with a wagon. He gave a pre-reference to the expensive innovations. The coin will be dressed, while not late. The hero treated the threats with mockery. He calmly told the bandits that they should worry about their own safety before the fight. Phonal protrusion showed the new power of the hero. The gangs were attacked. He created the air shield, which was performed by them, and vocabulary they were cut into an invisible stan. Yun Gom Ho realized his advantage in battle. His recently acquired knowledge of the nature of Hongmentan gave him a significant advantage over his opponents. The hero showed the relics of new technology. The enemy with the digest was approximated. He meloniosonically Socratized distance and naked with a roar shot, enclosed by a Veter. Bandits admitted their defeat. After the demonstration of strength, they rose with difficulty to their trembling legs and rushed to run in fear, considering the hero a real monster. Having given up the pursuit, the hero returned to the victim. The wounded man, breathing heavily, noted with sincere admiration the excellent martial arts of his savior. Nin Gom Hom stopped the wounded. The heart brute of the trauma of men. He will present his ego and will deliver in a closer hospital for the flying. The stranger refused the offered help. Looking at his savior with misty eyes, he sadly shook his head and explained that it was already too late for him. The hero showed firmness in relation to the wounded. He looked sternly at the man and demanded that he not show weakness and hold out at least until the meeting with the doctor. The wounded presented to its savior. Krepko shrugged by the hero's hand. He named him by Nim Yol, the predator of Liansky filial Kaumon, his important post. The dying man handed over important things to the hero. Coughing up blood, he handed over a small amulet and a sealed letter with trembling hands, begging him to deliver them to his daughter, So. Ningum Homo was to save the predator. Do not intertwine the hope. He provides the infusion of the man, but the non-motto on all the reinforcement, life left ego. The hero thought deeply about the fate of people. Looking at the deceased, he thought about the transience of other people's lives, leaving only bitter memories, and tried to understand the reasons for the attack. At dawn, the hero set off. He carried with him an amulet and an encrypted letter, which even he could not read, preparing to fulfill the last will of the deceased. Ningom Hom relict is to be more damaged. The following will of the doc, he sent to Kauman, the endowment of the circumstances of the tragic death of the predator. The district of Hauman struck the hero with poverty. Seeing dilapidated houses, he even doubted the correctness of the chosen path. So unexpected was the surrounding poverty. In the entrance of the hero, Ohran struck. 2 superstitles were eaten to 1 from one of the way. It would need to be introduced in an unrestricted and clarifying the challenge. The hero calmly explains the cause of the arrival. He was scattered to the hoarseness of the need to reprimand John Ill, the soder at this full calm. The chairman's daughter suddenly appeared. A young woman went to the gate, surprised by the appearance of a stranger who mentioned her father, while the guards hesitated with a decision. Nin Gom Hom Hom has transferred to the sending of the father. He prayed the motto of the hearts and amulet, explained that he squeezes the will of his birthday, completing an important thinking. The reaction to the writing was emotional. I read Soderimoya. The girl was illuminated and unlucky, ordered the baptisms to be overlooked by the arms of the guest. All presenting expressed gratitude. The host and baptisms dropped on the Kolini, the screamer of the hero for the delivery of the landlord. The hero modestly fired. Swing such a reaction, he asked for the girl. He explained that he simply could not be referred to in the post, asking dying. The girl showed interest in the savior. Calming down and wiping away her tears, she asked him to introduce himself and cautiously asked about the last minutes of her father's life. Ungum Ho spoke honestly about the chairman's death. His confirmation of his presence at the death of the hostess brought new tears to the eyes of the bereaved daughter. The girl invited the hero to a conversation. Over a glass of wine, she decided to share the story of her father, revealing the details of his last days. The history of the predator was caught. It was clear that he was imprisoned with a served conspiracy, hunted with flowing sores, and it was outlined in a lot of a bloody dwarf. President Presidel his judgment. Inflamed the extent of the life, he is inadvertently prepared for his daughter. The hero drew the concepts of the motives of the pre-said. Ningom hum him do not mog's country causes, flashing a lyre drawing life in the cable with a watching delay. The daughter has explained the cause of the act. Having frowned, she disappeared about the important request of the clan Moon, which was the proceeds of the peace in Murima. The girl disclosed the name of the customer. She openly named Moyong Seolji of the Moyong clan, whose suspicions about the activities of the Blood Palace led to the investigation. The hero has scraped his sign with my soul. I learned the recent sob in a meal he did not give and failed the darling plans of the daughter of a predator. The daughter has taken the ledge of the father. When she came, she stated her tweezers, showing the readiness of the board. The girl started preparing to leave. Thanking the hero for delivering the message, she immediately ordered the completion of preparations for urgent departure. Yoon Gom-ho decided to return to his business. Seeing the detachment's readiness to perform, he realized that it was time to say goodbye and return to his duties. Farewell was screen until PM. The girl was hot with the hero for help in the fact that the father was delighted, and he fires hay and prayed for a safe manner. The hero flicked the hero. Ego bodyguns the hearing of the strain, brought by the unintest path of the Trevosnaya Vetra. Yoon Gom-ho showed a lightning-fast reaction. His sharpened hearing caught the sound of slicing air, and he instantly dodged the deadly blade that flew by. The hero has paid the attachment. Even at the moment of covering it is a viddy look of a blushing red handle of the sword, a characteristic sign of a warrior of a bloody yard. The enemy stole their reaction. Rounding their heads in the head of the leader needed to take out the daughter of a predators. The gun will be dyed of all the rest. The chairman's daughter accepted the challenge of the enemies. Undeterred, she resolutely grabbed her sword, ready to take revenge on her father's killers, and ordered her men to join the battle. A fierce battle began. The hero immediately entered into an unequal fight. His masterful blows mercilessly smashed numerous opponents. The situation became critical for the girl. Having dealt with his enemies, the hero noticed with alarm how the enemy knocks the weapon out of her hands. Hom uspel to save the girl. At the last moment, he thwarted it from the sort of attack of such a force that even his crest sword of Edva was not broken. The hero continued to protect the chairman's daughter. He struck the attacker with a lightning strike, becoming a living shield between the danger and the mistress. The girl showed concern for her people. Rising to her feet after her rescue, the first thing she did was inquire about the fate of her loyal soldiers. The hero pointed to the headaches. He calmly understand the need to think about saving, so as the head does not get away, while not get to know. Nin Gum Hom sprouting. He has given their interest in the cipher and self-greenery. He was presented with the 7 moon. The hero convinced the girl of the need to escape. Seeing her doubts about his ability to stand up to the army, he reminded her of the importance of her mission for peace in Murima. Ningam Ham was prepared for a series. In Visev Obes the Devil, he reassures the technical swords, concentrated in the sebi of the energy with the smashing breaks. The hero has given a person in battle, sleeping his will, from the void of the material. The sneakers, which were cut with his blade, fell on the number of Nikages. Enemies tried to pursue the girl. Noticing her departure at a gallop, the bandits rushed in pursuit, but the hero resolutely blocked their way. Ningom Hombrosil brought out to the prelates. He is a cockpiece of the blood of the passage, and the opponents, the rows, the dwellings will come out, attacked everything. The hero felt a special union with the weapon. Preparing for a massive attack, he felt his body and sword merge into one. The new principle of the battle was homo. He intelligently concerned the prosecution of the unseenness of the vastness and accurateness of the blows, mounted on the direction of the veterinary. The hero was the power of nature in battle. Damage to the new, he had transformed his sight and his blade into a deadly vortex, smoking everything on his own. Ningam Hum has demonstrated a non-veer masters. The first 2 opponents of he gap with 1 moving, and the traveling pair of dungeon series, the series of Molnios no. The head of the bandits acquired to defeat our people. The kind of cockpiece dinner ego of the hero and his darling was brought to the head to the union of Nestavaya Gerosity. Defeated enemies showed strange properties. Their bodies were suddenly enveloped in dark smoke, and ghostly silhouettes rose into the air, creating a frightening sight. The hero was not afraid of the supernatural phenomenon. Observing the mystical performance, he only mockingly warned his enemies about the futility of such tricks. Uninvived situation was amended for the hero. Aegis. The panic was rubbed from the control of the TV, and this glowing enemy to put a strap. Yoon Gom-ho learned the enemy's legendary technique. He realized that he was faced with Ryujin's famous ghost technique, which paralyzes the victim's body with an insurmountable force. The head of the hero's noiselessness. Approximately with the sword of the enemy's face, he with the name of the squeeze will precisely Bendar. The hero found a way to resist the technique. Gathering his last strength, he forced himself to calm down and concentrate on the strength received from the teacher. Nin Gom Homo Preodol of shaking puts. At the moment, the deadly blow told the unbearable. Hem managed to get off and bow from the attack. The hero has control of his body. Taking a sword, he finally reconfigured the impresses and sorely abused the series of ravine attacks. Yoon Gom-ho counterattacked. Feeling the return of strength, he delivered a powerful sweeping blow, not only repelling the attack, but also throwing the enemy far back. The commander of the adversaries of the notion of the tactics of the bat. The failure of his technology, he sent the Boitsov in a subordinate attack, but the hero already concerned the principle of their gap. The hero spent the series of raw attacks. The ego strokes became prayerful and dishonest. One after the other fell by the heads of the head, vocabulary killed. The long battle began to take its toll on the hero. His movements slowed down from fatigue, and when the main enemy came from behind, he did not have time to react. Unexpected help saved the hero. Turning around, he saw the enemy on his knees, bleeding. It turned out that the girl had returned and came to the rescue. Careful warriors have receded after a degeneration. The heads of the heads began to split into the air. The vocabulary of them did not consumed, he allowed the hero to expel. The savior went to the hero after the bat. Walking with the horse, she approached the Gamham, which was fully interested in the controversy of important documents. The girl faded the Uzbek Misya. He showed the book. She explained that the gravity of the hero was to dispose of the hero. Farewell was a gratitude. The hero asked him to be indispensable, and she, low-bowed, promised to manage the memory of his help. The girl safely reached her goal. She reached the estate of Moyung Sol-ji, where she handed over important documents in a secluded environment. Myeonji Salt was amazing. She put Krasny Mishachek with Nagradoy, a pre-notable joy-ill, donated to the life of the Piece of Peace. The girl was scattered about the hero. She was felt that one man is worthy of a kind, and he will behave in the deposit of the homo in the well, in law. Moon, the soul of the Joss, made the hero's name. She was alarming, coming up the youth, who was in the restraint in the tractor. History of the hero's exploits of the hero brought the liberty. The girl with the whispering of the jerk and the unnecessary bead technical technique. The hero is analyzing the situation. He dreamed of the availability of the ticket to the city of the garden. The proverbing plans of the bloody courtyard. Worry about the missing person increased. Yoon Gom-ho became more and more worried about the fate of O.U. Ran, whom he could not find, and decided to redouble his efforts in the search. The dream hero felt closely. He caught the fugitive, and he praised the beaded stand, prepared for the enemy. A new mysterious enemy appeared. The young man has flashed the trees with the substance of the hero. Nin Gom Hom Honey. According to it, it was not enough for him to understand that in front of him, the vicious messenger of the bloody yard. The enemy explained the reason for his appearance. The fair-haired young man admitted that Yoon Gom-ho's success in previous fights prompted him to personally enter the fight. Small-mindedly represented the hero. He caught the boss. He made the felt of the sneezing of the rapt, but the end of the sake of the hell. Pi Wol started the fight with a confident attack. He struck and immediately turned away, clearly expecting that his attack would prove fatal to the enemy. The hero widowed a self-propelled enemy. He is uninhabited right in front of him. The nerdemy and fullness is ready to carry out the series of series. Yeun Gom-ho used a special technique. Waiting for the approach of the enemy, he used summoned swords that attacked together with his own blows. Opponents turned out to be equal in strength. By the refined movements of Pi Vol, the hero understood that he was fighting a master of the highest rank of martial arts, the hero to fly a dawn in a tabi. Its uninhabited blow was sent to the enemy's face. But then all the Supramal will bow at the last moment. Pi Wol showed interest in the enemy. Alarmed after the dangerous attack, he recognized the strength of the hero and wanted to know about his origin. The hero decided to hide the truth about himself. Not wanting to reveal his origin, he calmly lied, calling himself a hunter for similar trash. The enemy interpreted the hero's words in his own way. Deciding that Yoon Gom-ho had come to kill their leader, Pi Wol began to fight with redoubled fury. The enemy changed the tactics of the battle. In the next attack, he suddenly threw daggers, forcing the hero to take defensive actions. The hero of the principles to make difficulties in battle. He understands the immutability of the victory even with the help of the techniques of swords, and the way will make the way to lure the enemy in the fishing. Opponents came together in a decisive battle. When the enemy approached, the perfect moment came for the final clash of fist and sword. An unexpected appearance interrupted the fight. At the moment when the hero managed to injure Pi Vol, their fight was stopped by the appearance of an unknown man. The strength of the stranger struck the hero. Yoon Gom-ho froze in amazement, seeing how easily he stopped his sword and extinguished all the energy of the blow. The unintentional manifestation of the hero. Even did not look at the Gumhom. He only dry will be the will of the need to show indulgence. The hero realized the seriousness of the new enemy. Seeing Pi Vol's reaction and the man's cold demeanor, he realized that he had met a particularly dangerous representative of the Blood Palace. The will of the will have left the healing interruption. Before the entrance, he was mischievous. He promised that they are a traveling stancing for her. The hero analyzed the last battle. As he sheathed his sword, he understood the reality of his chances of victory, but recognized the outstanding skill of his opponent. Ho made an alarming conclusion. The presence of such skilled fighters in the Bloody Palace could mean only one thing. Something really serious was being prepared. Events moved to a new place. In the Yugajun Star Garden, the hero made his way through the lively crowd, rejoicing in the achievement of his goal and hoping to find Oyuran. Trepovzhny Misli did not leave the hero. The evil plans of the bloody courtyard did not give an extent, and he is passionately possible to cut them. The hero is important person in Tolpe. Anti-Corsi people he gave the Hun with the Soviest, what became for him uninhabited. Yun Gom Ho began secret surveillance. Hiding under the hood, he followed Oja Hong, who continued to show passers-by portraits of his sister. The hero was tactical. The sides of Ja Han for his or her own seat. He will set him a constant acquisition. Nin Gom Hom Dandent I personally. To represent your way, it is an invisible thicker and gradually attached to the body of a porch. The success of the technique pleased the hero. Smiling rather, he realized the possibility of finding Oja Hong anywhere and calmly dissolved into the crowd. The festival was fine. The reserves appeared in front of the visors and softened the guests on the famous Sostiania of Bovian art. The atmosphere was filled with general excitement. The manager's joyful smile reflected the impatience of the audience, eager to know the winner of this year. The hero kept vigilance in the crowd. Standing among the excited spectators, he carefully examined those around him, knowing that Oyuran would definitely give himself away. The parade of the participation of the festival. The reservoir represented the boys, which presented the festival of the first showing pad. The first participant pronounced, Marima representative of the Asina, glorified by his feats and non-renalits. The second fighter is shrouded in mystery. The mysterious figure of the enemy sought not just to win the competition, but to completely change the world of martial arts. There were conversations among the audience. The hero noticed an elderly man proudly telling a young viewer about his grandson, the first participant in the fight. The match demonstrated high skill. Yun Gom Ho noted that both opponents showed impressive swordsmanship and real martial art. The fight reached the critical point. Marima representative of the enemy's Somnicity, but the famous Dragon Strunk. County Slide Prerval of the Pozhevnika. The bite of the participant was uninhabited by the head of the sneezing pains. He allowed the enemy to be approached by the enemy. The fighter tried to continue the battle. When he came to himself after an incomprehensible attack, he was confused about the reasons, but he was forced to continue the intense struggle. Podobritric leading attachment. The Cogda situation was repeated. The young man in the simple clothing of the midst of the breakdown of the bent. The acquisition of snowstorms. It is not a sight of the same old woman who is whispering in the time. There was a public exposure. Resolutely grabbing the old man by the gate, the spectator loudly accused him of dishonest interference and disgrace for the family. The scandal attracted universal attention. A crowd gathered around, and an angry spectator explained the old man's use of a special influence technique. The hero faded his own. Ningom Hom has allowed himself to be heard. He learned in the wounds of his wounds, I was wrapped in a man's clothing. O wounds received a public recognition. He was struck on the stage of gratitude for the disintegration of the mosquito, and she modestly refined the estimate of the concession. The girl went into the glowing. Calling a foreign name at the issue of the leading, she went down to leave the place of the act. The hero displaced the bike. Edva Tsaru for a number of Shagov. She grew her fierce Nimus and whispered to the Gom Hom, they will return the house. Yuran was amazed at the hero's insight. She was amazed at his ability to recognize her. When even his own brother Oja Hong passed by, he did not recognize his sister. Yun Gum Ho explained his recognition. With a slight smile, he noted the impossibility of not recognizing such a bright and loud person in any outfit. The girl turned to the hero for help. After a displeased snort, she approached to find out his plans, begging him not to reveal her location to her brother. The hero warned about the danger. He seriously reported the presence of people from the Bloody Palace, making it extremely risky to stay here. Wounds showed an interest in the situation. It is a multifaceted library when the bloodstream of the Bloody Devoy was alerted by the hero, the abandoned series of position. The cattle moved to the second participants. The commander of the warrior part of the Bloody Palace with a report on the houses of the old man arrived at the first will. The report contained disturbing news. The commander reported on the old man's contact with the Moyon clan and the possible discovery of their plans by the enemy. Yahello remained calm. His cold smile showed a lack of concern as he pondered the possibility of covering his tracks. The commander understood the leader's hint. He immediately offered to start preparations and announced the performance already this evening. Preparation for the operation has begun. A lot of soldiers headed to Moyong Solji's hotel, taking up positions on the roof, waiting for the moment. Mayon Juice sewed the important Della. She calmly wrote a letter about the plot of the Bloody Palace with a passing festival. The girl emphasized the urgency of the situation. She insisted on the immediate convocation of the council to discuss countermeasures against dangerous plans. Appearing an unprecedented guest. The will of the marshmallized doors of the devil, ready to act. The attacked Jadal is an unloved surprise. One thing that precipitated ego appeared and attacked with such a speed that Edwa would be able to worship. The defender showed determination. The elderly warrior resentfully demanded that the uninvited guest introduce himself and explain the invasion of the clan's domain. The hostess reacted to the intrusion. Attracted by the noise of the fight, Moyong Solji listened to the old man's speech and ordered the swordsmen to be gathered. The opposite was started. The old warrior entered the fight with a will. The rise will not allow him to be heard. The willow will manifest the highway. Wow, from the blow of Starza, he squeezedly frostbite the uniforms of the likes of the attacks against him. Moyong Solji was preparing for the defense. Surrounded by loyal warriors, she prepared for a fight with the rest of the attackers, the commander of the person's order. He will take his people's lives, but she was clearly prepared for her series. The girl has demonstrated masticism. Figure only the belt, Suzella will make the attack and cut off the sword, the commander baked. The situation became dangerous for the girl. In the middle of the fight, she had to use her belt for protection, which caused the enemy to smile sinisterly. The devil was stamped. The rust moving the hand enemy as an improvised oar left it unreasonable in front of the wagon. Pray the will of the longing for the elder. He honestly administered the soreness of the masticism of Zachitnikov, not permanent hearing. The words of the enemy provoked the old man. Deeply hurt by the mockery, he furiously attacked. But Pai Hai Wool, tired of the futile fight, easily knocked him back with a powerful blow. Moyong Solji's attention was distracted. Seeing the cruel treatment of a faithful servant, she momentarily lost her vigilance, which her opponent used for a new attack. The enemy has changed its reference to battle. He is a way that plannedly planned the learning. But now, he has been pathology. The Invenitioner will prepossess a series. The girl desperately resisted. She tried to protect herself with the remnants of her belt, clutching his ego to the point of blood in her hands, and still managed to stop the fatal blow. The enemy continued to press the defense. Disdainfully noticing the weakness of a simple whip in front of a sword, he increased the pressure, gradually cutting through the girl's last defense. Unexpected salvation came in time. At the moment of the inevitable fatal blow, Yun Gom Ho appeared, blocking the sword attack with his dagger. The appearing of the hero carried out the universal permeation, attacking the paths in the nomen, the concepts of the personality of the man, which will become in the fight. The hero explained his present. At the same time, the soul of the Jew was shocked. He calmly felt at his own remedy with a masonry musora in the guest of house. Pi Wool came back after the victory. Having dealt with the rest of the opponents, he appeared at the scene of a new skirmish, ready to continue the battle. The opponent demanded to introduce himself. Approaching Yun Gom Ho with a cold smile, he noted the early meeting and persistently asked the hero's name. The prayer of the hero has broken the enemy. The appearance of the disagreement of the Gom Home, the frowned prey of the will has ordered to his people and vainly will make a darling enemy. The hero demonstrated his skill. The first attacker lost his head instantly, and the rest of the opponents methodically fell from the deadly blows. The trainings bore fruit. During the battle, the hero clearly felt a significant increase in his strength thanks to daily exercises. The will of the will was broken by the enemy. He stuck in the miracle of the moonful speed of the hero, a squeezing, "I will help them." The commander joined the battle for the fallen. Unable to endure the death of his comrades, the head of the first military unit rushed to take revenge, intending to make the hero pay dearly. The hero easily opposed the new enemy. Luckily look into the eye of the enemy. He was a sparkling and nanu cerium of Molinanosni Vasters, wounded his shoulder. The attack was supplied with a Matat Or. After the enemy of the enemy, the hero launched a number of Kinjalov, twisted as a Saracen. The enemy was buried. The enemy fell into a tricky fishing. Swinging a lot of salvation, he does not sweep the approaching from the slap of the deadly blankets. He has a will of the enemy's strength. I am in the manner of the commander. He is the disadvantage of ego to the opposite of the mysterious warrior. The direct table was beginning. He was a will Molonios attacked the hero. But then it was a hatching of a dagger. He looked at the bridge when it was a stalk. The hero drew over the enemy. Involuntarily, he is a will. He is the methyl of the dowry of the halt in the hollow to eat one woman. The words of the hero have taken the pride of the enemy. The truthfulness of the replacement, the prey of the will of the will be laid, and the replacement of the technique of the bloody demon of Rudjin. Nin Gom Hom Homo Socranian is peaceful in battle. He gave up for an approximate attacker without squeezing, only a high-speed staff of the enemy. The enemy's technique turned out to be useless. It was not difficult for the hero, and he skillfully parried every blow with his sharp blade. The hero has given his provocation. He sent the sword to the enemy. He explained the disposal of the darling of the distinct in their forces. Pai He Wool refused to admit defeat. He decided to use another powerful technique to test the hero's words about superiority. The hero is methodically call distance. The attack of the enemy's attack, it was nearly approaching, while it was not boiled in a number of steps from the enemy. The attack reached the enemy. Sword, the hero of Nanus, a deep wound on the face of the enemy, brought out the flow of blood and a felt cry of the will. Ingomho continued to sneer. He smiled, noting the inability of the enemy's beautiful face to survive such a crushing attack. The enemy was sent to Behans. The presented words were unbuilt. The hero inflicted another serious wound. In the course of the fight, he got closer and hit the opponent's chest, making him freeze in astonishment. An unexpected help to the enemy appeared. Before the final blow of the hero, the surviving captain intervened and ordered the soldiers to protect the master. The new opponents did not represent the ungulates. The hero prayed his hand and returned to the regum, ready to carry out. The hero of the Acelrek. Look at the overburdened Tolpe. He settled on their multiplicity, and relict will go away the fight as possible. Nin Gom Hom der Volchel is died. Small strokes he dissociated the opponents of one after the other, laying the path to the head of the enemy. The main opponent showed cowardice. Instead of Pai He Will, the hero's blade caught up with the second fighter. The enemy used his soldiers as a human shield. Pai He Wool realized the growing threat. Escaping by flight, he understood the need for an urgent solution to the problem with the daily strengthening enemy. After the battle, the hero showed concern. He approached Moyong Solji, who was bowing over the emotionless master with tears in her eyes. Ningum Homi had the help of wounded. He helped to transfer the post-gun to the component, and the extent of the energy for the wounds of wounds. The hero seized the girl after the diver. He broke my soul of the G in the excavation of men, and she was induced by ego. The devil gapped the hero. On his question, the known it was only mysterious, the consolidation of her secret. Moyung Solji continued the conversation. She explained the superiority of the acquaintances of the Moyung family, and asked about the hero's knowledge of Yun Daihyup. The hero resorted to trickery in response. He lied about Oyuran's request to find out about the plans of the Blood Palace, hoping to reduce her interlocutor's suspicions. The girl has positively enclosed the situation. It is the deposit of the interest in the wounds and the praise of the chief of Hunanson in their dell. The hero went on a new quest. After the conversation, he hurried to find Oyuran, realizing the need to tell her about the plans of the Blood Palace. The ominous plans of the enemy were revealed. The Bloody Palace was preparing a confrontation with Hununsan, planning to shake off the heads of Muram's allies in order to weaken support. The hero has taken the important ledge. Nesmotra on the coating is not mixed in the war. The Poles in the hotel were Sophie. It is not a good time in his comrade. The hero stood out of the other. Yun Gomho used a special technique. Concentrating on the previously established blood thread, he was able to feel the presence of a girl nearby. Wounds were caught in a stake. On the street, she clasped a small fetus from a group of aggressive bandits, ready for a cross. The bandits, mistaking the girl in men's clothes for a young man, rudely warned her to clean up in the future so as not to get into trouble for her cute face. They had no idea that they were facing a dangerous enemy capable of standing up for themselves in any situation. The girl, who was mistaken for a boy because of her male clothes, resolutely refused to back down before the bandits. She boldly called them pitiful bastards trying to rob a defenseless child. Her words were full of contempt and willingness to protect the innocent. Enraged by her bold words, the bandits attacked, intending to teach the brat a lesson. However, the girl demonstrated impressive dexterity. She easily dodged their clumsy attacks and delivered a powerful palm blow to one of the attackers. Despite the apparent simplicity of the reception, the force of the blow turned out to be amazing. With a deafening roar, the enemy flew several meters away and crashed into the wall, starting to cough up blood. This moment showed the true power of the girl. Comrades of the Flourish Bandit, the thrilling herself for his Calyptan, Jerk, were sophisticated on the naglets, did not pursue that they have to do with an outstanding boy. They are Neened, and the Valerie of the Delayed Way is a hatch of the situation. Wounds with the pursuit and lightness were gone with the most attacked, the demonstration of the Favory Boya Mestation. She was cold, that they are only noon, not deserving. It was moving exact and deadly. The situation suddenly became complicated when one of the remaining bandits showed cunning and took the boy hostage. He threatened to immediately cut the child's throat at the slightest resistance, completely changed the dynamics of the confrontation. Wounds well, that it could easily cope with such an opponent, but the life of an innocent baby was for no important pride. It has shedded on a good moving the bandit, the outdoor moment. At a critical moment, Yun Gom-ho appeared, who with a lightning-like movement of the sword beheaded the bandit who threatened the child. He reproachfully remarked to Ou Ran that she had gotten herself into trouble again, even though she had acted out of noble motives. In the rank, the wounds were found that the bandits of the first were the conflict, one of the heated opponents of the predecessors. He has already taken his hands for a strawberry stroke. At a tense moment, the girl showed a lightning-fast reaction, managing to bounce back from the fatal blow. Yun Gom-ho, without wasting a second, made a swift jump and pierced the attacker through, demonstrating his unsurpassed skill. After the fall of the last enemy, Yun Gom-ho gave Ou Ran an important piece of advice. Don't be afraid to use your sword in battle. The girl explained her caution by concern for the boy's safety, showing that even in the heat of battle she does not forget about the protection of the innocent. Calming down after the battle, Ou Ran showed concern for the frightened child. She approached him with a warm smile and offered to go to Gunanson, assuring him that there he would be completely safe under her protection. Yun Gom-ho suddenly interrupted the conversation about the boy's future, reminded of more urgent matters. He said that he had to share with Ou Ran some extremely important information that could not wait. Ego's tone left no doubt about the seriousness of the situation. In the gloomy walls of the Loyan Blood Palace, another scene unfolded. Pai Hai-wol was severely punished for the failure of his mission. The atmosphere was filled with fear and tension, characteristic of this ominous place. The third elder of the Blood Palace looked at the offender with undisguised contempt. He reminded that he had only given one simple task, and expressed his bewilderment not only at the failure of the mission, but also at the loss of the first Shadow Dragon detachment. Bowing deeply, Pai Hai-wol spoke about the unexpected intervention of an unknown warrior that had thwarted their carefully planned mission. He passionately vowed to track down and destroy this mysterious enemy. Kogda Elder has already prepared to apply a winged backgain. A mysterious Pinswent appeared. It was killed by him to give a wealth of a chance, an argument of this topic, that in the case of a wretch he will pay everything shelter. After the persuasive words of the spy, the elder made an important decision. Next time Pai Hai-wol will go on a mission not alone, but in a pair with the experienced Yulguk Chok. This gave hope for the successful completion of the mission. Pai Hai-wol immediately expressed deep gratitude for the second chance, although he was puzzled inside. He could not understand how this mysterious girl could so easily manipulate the formidable elder, forcing him to act in her interests. After a long talk with Yun Gom-ho, Ou Ran reunited with her brother and they went to Moyung Solji's house together. Their path was filled with anxious thoughts about the upcoming meeting and its possible consequences. House at home, my soul Yi, gave the guests with a dreaded peace and dignity. She also introduced the fetus that arrived at their arrival, the Sozavaya penetration of the man, all the ruling situation. John, having introduced the Erzherzum Castle Marshal Castle, slammed with his own Vitita. He has a prisagum to make details of a bloody clan, a cuddle with pre-sophisticated Sorevnias on Boyevska. Myanji Salt has suffered a malicious conspiracy, and a non-motto on the stored atmosphere in the computer stood the head. She gave the guests a meeting for a detailed suction of this service question. The conversation quickly turned to discussing the need to join forces against the Blood Clan. Everyone understood the importance of urgent actions to prevent the implementation of their sinister plans and protect the participants of the competition. Representative of the clan of the Heavenly Dragon, Jegal Hai, entered into a faithful disadvantage. It is a lot of them that they have long been led by the gaping on the pre-accurate activity of the bloody clan. An official from the Pen family, Pen He-chong, joined the discussion. She expressed serious concern and bewilderment about the true intentions of the Blood Clan, stressing the need to uncover their plans. Ojan Ispatal is clearly a sway that the present did not guess from the secret of the Lhasa Grand Marshal. His secret snout on the crazy book of the Bloody Clan remained free. Young Lord Kwanbo Chon in the family Skivo Skipnai, an unprecedented optimistic moon. He was prevented that the nonsense can be transmitted, argumenting this in the clan of the exposure for the sorting of the painful number of plenix. The reconciliation of the dream of the clan of the Heavenly Dragon, which the Pinealone eyes were brought by the multicolored wrath of the bridge, rebelliously. He jumped the briefness of the wickedness of the Bloodclaw, steady from the sort of like. The tense atmosphere of the discussion was suddenly broken by the spectacular appearance of Yun-Gom-ho. He threw the dark-clothed man to the floor, causing everyone present to stand on their guard and grab their weapons until Oh-ja-hong explained the situation. Those present carefully examined the spy lying on the floor. No one was surprised by the fact that the Blood Clan sent a spy. This fully corresponded to their insidious nature and methods of work. Yun-Gom-ho, standing in the shadows, calmly explained that he had destroyed all but one of the spies. Oh-Yu-ran, whose eyes lit up with curiosity, inquired about the duration of the surveillance. Her interest in details revealed a sharp tactical mind. Supplies about the volume that the spions have fallen behind the bureaucracy from the 7 pen, the rabid reaction was brought. After looking at, she recalled the immutability of such acquisition, clearly shaken that information. The squeeze of the situation, it is released by the Hom-Hom. He fled to his painful points, the seizure of the unfulfilled is recognized. Setting his motion was exact and professional. The hero noticed a strange expression on the face of the silent spy and instantly realized that he could swallow poison. Acting like lightning, he pressed the captive's throat, causing the poisonous ball hidden there to fall out. With unshakable confidence, Yun-Gom-ho announced to the spy that he would not allow him to leave his life so easily. He demanded to reveal the location of the shelter, ready to use any method to obtain information. Ready for the plot, it is planned to lower its extensive knowledge of painful points. However, his plans were blown by the disadvantage of the display of the face of the Saminum, which was presented with something bad. Mysterious blisters began to appear on the spy's body, causing alarm among those present. His mocking laugh made it clear that he was ready to take his secrets to the grave, without revealing a single detail of his mission. Yun-Gom-ho, feeling the approaching danger, showed a lightning-fast reaction. He managed to grab Oh-Yu-ran and jump to the side, protecting her from the powerful blast wave that followed the spy's laughter. As the bloody remains of the detonated prisoner began to fall around them, Yun-Gom-ho demonstrated incredible skill. He masterfully used his sword as a shield, not allowing a single fragment to reach their bodies. After this terrible incident, Yun-Gom-ho let go of the shocked Oh-Yu-ran. He regretfully admitted that he had not foreseen such a method of self-destruction, and sincerely apologized to everyone for putting their lives in danger. The present chose the signs to my soul of the GE in the poultry of the gunshots. Danok of the GVA from the clan of the Heavenly Dragon, which voices a shiver from the direction. He failed to make a Manetian, a cassatically launching intelligent and the other darling. Myeon-ju was presented with the sorting of the sores, although everything was imprisoned. The master of Nikogda would not be a sager. The poem at once began to think about the alternative solution of the problem. O John Snowstorm Faldi bless in eyes Myon Yenji Yani, which has a spare plan. She presented the bloody clan, organized the arrogant attack, that sort them and not allow the panica on the sauced. The presence of frozen in the perfection from the table of mixed projection. The plan was effective, but everything was taken away by the series of the risks with him. Many expressed the vomitness of the excels of their act. Myeonji Sol calmly presented the following variant of the problem, the use of obese souls. This uninhabited turn will make everything think about the existence of the ancient magician in the border with the out. Dongbai Sai-yong from the Heavenly Dragon clan explained in detail to those present the features of the guardian of possessed souls. This magical bell, capable of warning of the approach of evil spirits, seemed to be the ideal solution that had been contested the day before. After making an important decision, Oh-ja-hong, Yongum-ho and OU Ran left the meeting and headed to their hotel. Their thoughts were occupied with upcoming events and possible dangers of tomorrow. Oh Ja-hong seriously addressed his sister, insisting that she return home immediately. He asked Yoon Gom-ho to accompany her to the Grand Marshal's castle, wanting to ensure his sister's maximum safety. Oh Yu-ran resolutely resisted her brother's order to return home. She convincingly proved that she had grown up a long time ago and did not need excessive care. Oh Ja-hong, coming closer, gently explained the reasons for his concern. Oh Yu-ran calmly informed her brother about her plans for tomorrow. She was going to show the Grand Marshal's castle to the rescued child and his family, which somewhat calmed the agitated brother, who saw it as a safe activity. The sister on the plans for a traveling day, about Ja-hong, healed. Eye navigation of the Simple Seven showed his brother that his sister was growing, and the way will be a reason. Oh Yu-ran turned hopefully to Yoon Gom-ho, interested in his willingness to accompany her tomorrow. I received an affirmative answer. She could not hide her sincere joy at the upcoming joint walk. On the traveling day, the arena was laid on the site of the peritoneum, the thrilling of the tournament. Low paints actively set the potentials on potential victories, the Sozavaya atmosphere of the holiday and Azart. Among the numerous spectators were representatives of noble families who participated in yesterday's negotiations. They carefully watched what was happening, and magical bells glittered on their clothes. Suddenly, the bell on Oh Ja-hong's clothes gave a shrill jingle, warning of danger. He anxiously looked around, trying to determine the source of the evil energy among the dense crowd of gathered spectators. In the next moment, a powerful explosion completely destroyed the battle arena, leaving the crowd frozen in a stupor. No one expected such a daring and open attack at the very beginning of the competition. Panic people broke out to the outlets, but they had obeyed all the proceedings of the bloody clan. Oh John said that the soul of the Gaiyan thought, but he knew her boom. Ordinary spectators, being trapped, began to shout angry threats at the Blood Clan. Their bold promises of revenge demonstrated courage, but could provoke the attackers to violent actions. There was a leader of the attack Tulpa with a lazy look. He is calmly subreddited that any kind of exposure or Linji disassembly will be unknown with the help of fiery bombs. Tulpa died down, and the noble guests stuck in the shock from the bloody clan. It was not necessary that they will be able to take the hostures of such a squeeze of people, demonstrating a full puppet for the laws. Jin Ban from the bloody clan was presented by the post of the Spirit of Blood. He has made the young representatives of the noble sisters volunteered, the coming in such a minimum casualties of the meal. Oh, John, the scene of the situation. We were consumed by the guards of the Grand Marshal Castle. He will give them a strange order in an immobile wounds. The sister can be paid into a stab. After receiving confirmation from the guards, Oh Ja-hong insisted that they act as quickly as possible. The entire Loyan garrison of the castle had to learn about the danger and prepare for a possible attack. Leader attacked. The readiness of the noble plenix to the voluntary sink was ready. He was a subdivision, which in the case of the refusal to methodically kill the ravines, the demonstration of the series of his fired. The enemy began to read out a list of important families, the Chehal family being the first to be named. His voice sounded confident and authoritative, showing that he is in complete control of the situation and is ready to carry out his threats. Blood Clan warriors grabbed a random man from the crowd, preparing to demonstrate the seriousness of their intentions. The unfortunate hostage began to desperately beg Chigal Haya-yong to come out voluntarily, fearing for his life. When the enemy counted to 3 and brought the sword over the hostage's neck, Chigal Hye-yong finally stepped forward. He demanded the release of innocent people, demonstrating nobility and willingness to sacrifice himself. For the hell of the hell, the rest of the noble seams were sent. Bureaucrats Pen, Honey-chan-in, and Donbai. Their sacrifice for the sake of saving of simple people showed the noble nobility. At this time, Oh Yu-ran and Yoon Gom-ho accompanied the little boy, who happily announced his arrival home. The child ran to his home, unaware of the dramatic events unfolding in the city. The Fry-brown to the painful mother, the diligence of the clearing of the interpretation in the best place. Ego of his eye was glowing with a guarantee on a happily future, which said now so close. Oh, wounds were unattended for the Etrayed scene. It is with the sutras of the pain of the painful woman's women, the need to help the squeezing this bednoy seam. The girl was approaching the painful mother and had a long time. The wanderer of the woman ended the reason for such unrelated generosity of the sides of the miserable, which looked at the wounds of the sink. Oh, wounds with a little she explained that she had taken a hat when he was killed. The face of the mother was shocked and a shrub, and the young man was sorted to fight his life. Yoon Gom-ho was suddenly alert. He sensed danger. He quickly took out his sword and held it to the throat of the man who had suddenly appeared, demanding that he immediately introduce himself and explain his presence. The man, trembling with fear, turned out to be the messenger of Oh Ja-hong. He brought the alarming news about the capture of hostages by the Blood Clan during the rivalry, completely changing the atmosphere of the peaceful visit. The captured pleniks were swore and introduced special icing for control. They are the position of the painful pasture of the pleen in a gratitude. The captives were asked to forcefully pour a mysterious potion with a herbal aftertaste. It was calmly explained to them that it would be better to drink voluntarily if they did not want to witness the execution of threats against the other hostages. Oh Chan, masking under the warrior clan warrior, lonely slimming with Plenikoff. He did not have the masking that can be scattered at any moment, but the riser is risky. In the meal carpets, the plungers dredged will definitely be a composition of the drank Zelia, representative of the 7 Chegel Presidium, that this is a mountain poison, based on the post, fountain of physical forces in all the pole. One from the Plenis has explained the true act of Zelia. It struck them with life unhenting and dropped it. This is a bolt to overwhelm the love of the plans of the praise. Chegel has been flickering everything to keep peaceful, and they will be able to install forces through meditation. However, he had a completely unblocked blocking of her own energy, and in the rest of the plenary. Caravan Carrot finally reached the headquarters of the Blood Clan in Luel. Massive gates were honored with a memorial, led in the inner respects with the plungers, which the vessel was now preceded. Nin, Gom Homo, and O Wounds were unattended by the caravan. The girl has led to such a large base in the center of the city, but the hero of the snowstorm, that at the time of the wealth, the elephant can be leaving. With genuine interest, O.U. Ran asked Yoon Gom-ho about the method of finding her brother. He, smiling, told about the imposed tracking spell, which greatly surprised the girl, who did not know about such ego abilities. Nin Gom-hom Prerwar reminded about the challenge, the saving of ramparts. He released forward to his own imperative warriors, gave them a cheetic order to institute an attack on the enemy base. Oh Hun and other warriors were raised by the rushes of the weighing. In the time of this reference work, he was moaning, as they passed the visit to their friends on the manor, that they could come to help. The unzipped bridge of the air forced the members of the bloody clan will fall to the ground. They were felt dated to the extermination of the rushing of the rustic attack, not to get such a turn of the way. After the dust settled from the destroyed wall, everyone saw Yoon Gom-ho at the head of a group of loyal warriors. They came to save the hostages, ready to fight to the last for the liberation of the captives. The shedding of the honors of the interrogation, the homo, hom, the hem will say, and will be resolved for battle. The ego command tone did not leave the somnus in the heart and the needlessness of the non-expensive acts. Oh, Wounds were approached by a brother, with a Trevi setting of ego for wounded. It was a well-being, well, it was obvious, non-motto on a tired, beated environment. Oh, John was a showed sister in the table with a passion. She seized his ego. He promised to clarify everything, and felt the joy of the newness of the time to arrive. At a critical moment, the enemy tried to attack OU Ran, but she reacted like lightning. Grabbing a sharp dagger, the girl decapitated the enemy with one precise movement, demonstrating her fighting skills. Impressed by his sister's skills, Oh Ja-hong realized that he should not be left behind. He resolutely joined the battle, ready to show his own combat skills in a fight with the enemy. In the dungeon, important officials listened anxiously to the sounds of the battle outside. Their imprisonment was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Yoon Gom-ho, who came to the rescue at the right moment. Nin Gom-homo was a logging of Plenikovs from the wars, and they have their cheers. He will be overwhelmed and resolved to the destruction, the importance of the fact of the boat in this reversing battle. The Jin is a ban on their secret base, fell into Yaros. She ordered her warriors to be dredged without scattering. The drowsy of the maintenance of the headquarters became important. A fierce battle began, in which a representative of the Chehal family, despite the effect of the poison, desperately fought with the invading enemies. His courage inspired the others to continue the struggle. Oh Ja-hong, noticing the difficult situation of the poisoned captives, immediately turned to his sister for help. He understood that people weakened by mountain poison needed personal protection during the battle. OU ran, acting like lightning, beheaded 2 opponents at once with one virtuoso movement. Her technique was impeccable, and the speed and precision of her movements were admired by all who watched the battle. Ja Hong watched his sister's incredible fighting skills in amazement. He could not understand at what point she managed to achieve such an impressive level of mastery of martial arts. Landing to the side, the wounds with the lungs of the Osakov koi was made to his brother. She was grieving herself with a standing with an opened WTA, and a sophistication will be resolved. The demonstration of the gate in her power. John has been attacked by the 2, burst, but manifested an unprecedented dream in battle. He is a sumal molyneusis of one enemy in half and disagrees the other, showing that it is also a series of served beads. It will not end the victory combination, as a new enemy appeared with a non-powerful Bowie Oroi. Ego is present with a mentally changed atmosphere of sternum, forced everything to be alert. Even the experienced Yun Gom Ho, feeling this powerful energy, distracted himself from his battle with interest. He carefully looked at the suddenly appeared warrior, assessing the level of his strength and possible threat. Recognizing the opponent as the same man who interrupted his duel with Pai Hai Wol, Yun Gom Ho hurried to warn Ja Hong. He called for special caution, stressing that before them is a real master of martial arts. Ja Hong, hearing the warning, tightened his grip on the hilt of his blade. Ego's tense reaction released only a condescending smile on the face of the opponent, who was clearly pleased with the effect produced. This formidable warrior turned out to be the leader of the Black Mask Squad and the Bloody Clan, Yulgun Chok. His appearance on the battlefield meant that the opponents were extremely serious. Wounds were methodically unveiled by the onset of the duplicate, while the brother was stuck with Yulhun Chok. The scooping of the battlefield, she with Trevier, she said that the skeleton of the adversaries did not diminish. Ungam Ho, realizing the numerical superiority of the enemy, decided to use his newest skills. He used the impressive technique of hundreds of doppelgangers, demonstrating the highest level of combat prowess. The unusual sparking was insisted on a multiplicity of deadly stripes, emerging vocabulary from the air. They laughed in the enemies, which they were illuminated by one by the other with a non-powerful accurateness. Jinyo Bang watched the crushing reception with growing panic. She realized that the young man fighting against them significantly exceeded all their preliminary estimates and expectations. The streaming will be the rapt of her people. The Jin banned the mowing attack of massive abuser. Ningum has a well-performed situation, which has an emphasis of his technical technique against the painful groups of drowsiness. Their epic confrontation moved to the air, where Jin Yo Bang fought fiercely with Yun Gom Ho. She vowed to drag him to hell with her if she had to, showing determination. Obtained with Ignigus, Jin banned the person of the boy. She sowed her blade with a jerky planet, the pre-ego in his other painful death against the enemy. The hero of the principle of acting with the darkened clogging, the sword of a speech. He is a sustainable enemy technician, bowing from the caught-up and outdoors for the container. Did he diminish the technique of Molnia, Nin Gom Hom Hom Circle the Mosky Shu? An enemy. The attack was strongly strong, what even the stabbed sword enemy of Edwa is a sword. Having put out the burning part of his clothes from the fiery blade of the enemy, the hero defiantly asked whether he had revealed all his trump cards. His confidence and calm demonstrated great combat experience. The hero declared his readiness to show true strength by throwing off his burnt cloak. However, suddenly, his attention was attracted by a swift side attack that required an immediate reaction. He showed a delicate reaction. Nin Hum Homojal, at the following moment, will be blocked by a non-embedded blow with his blade. Egus is performed and masticism. The hero was amazed to recognize the attacker as Pai He Vol. But he had aged noticeably in a short time. These unnatural changes in the enemy's appearance aroused serious suspicions in him. Pai Hai Wol, angered by the hero's reaction, began to demonstrate the improved magic of the water element. He emphasized that he has grown significantly in skill and is no longer the same opponent. Both opponents simultaneously attacked the hero, forcing him to show maximum vigilance. Yun Gom Ho realized that their combined power posed a serious threat even to his skill level. Oh Hun is an intensive opposite of Tremail opponents, including a thunderstorm Julhun Choka. Evisid in the diversion of the heart was overwhelmed in this unbelievable battle. He was agitated as much as possible, and the risks of the sword at the emails. Such a technical technician would be able to give him his bounty to the castle of Grand Marshal, which he would be allowed. The enemy's next attack came dangerously close to his face, forcing him to realize a serious enemy advantage. Jahong realized that he had no choice but to reveal his true nature. John has taken a bold stand and the principles of concentrifying the brutal energy. From his eyes, the bright molny was drilled. The demonstration is ready to unite their strong techniques. Yu Ran, noticing her brother's dangerous preparations, hastily called out to him and begged him not to reveal himself. She immediately rushed to help, killed one of the attackers. She explained her brother to the series of the posts. Wounds have suffered that the enemy is not amenable to consider and to give them numerous provocity. John confessed to his sister's correctness. Unique forces against Yulhun Choka. They were able to make a chance to victory in this complex confrontation. Nin Gom Hom Hom Protoljal is a bias with two opponents, demonstrating the greatest way of masticism. However, the uninhabited attack still reached his body, squeezed series. The disadvantage of the sword, the hero has reached the image of the magic magician. This was risky, but an unbearable steam to reach the victory over strong opponents. He leaned into a Savoy, hem, hom, hom, homo, a lot of tenev dueling. Any copy in the accurateness repeated his extinguisher and bell moving, the consciousness of the series. The Jin is a ban on appearing multiple copies. This predisposing was given by the fear of a non-display technical technique. The hero reacted with a smile to the enemy's assumption about his demonic essence. He calmly explained that his teacher gave him not only the art of the sword, but also special techniques. Ready-haired will name the technical technician of the homo-hom dirty focuses, and Rhea Seal will prove their provocity. Ego of knee and guns will protect the delayed way to trace the situation. All the hooves of the hero were startled by synchronized attack with Nistov Yarostia. Single strokes were transformed into a stranded flurry of attacks, dumped on the enemy of all sides. The efficiency of the attacks of the Diops, the prey of the will, was released into the fight. He wrapped herself with a self-wander magician, not a faded lavushke. Pihei Wall unleashed one of his strongest aerial attacks. A powerful blow dispersed all the shadow clones, leaving only the real Ungam Ho, ready for a decisive battle. The Gamham was approached by the pierced will with the Gorgstes. He was subtle, as the enemy sacrificed his youth of the counsel of Edius Boy. I would like to go to the enemy. The hero spent the series of accurate and stranded blows. The ego attacks were carried out the will of the Reckon, not to leave the chance of survival. Look at the enemy, the hero of the mowing. He did not have the will, was to choose a peaceful life to be cut down in the ground. Before his death, Pai Hai Wall tried to find out the true essence of Yun Gom Ho. However, the hero left the question unanswered, ending the fight with a decisive blow that separated the opponent's head from his body. After defeating the first opponent, Yun Gom Ho went to Jin Yoban. Thoth still continued to fight the remaining shadow copies, unaware of the approach of the real hero. Yun Gom Ho called off his doubles and approached the enemy. He held Pai He Vol's head as a clear proof that the second opponent's participation was also predetermined. Jia Hong watched the impressive battle in amazement. He could not hide his surprise, trying to understand where and how Ungam Ho mastered such powerful fighting techniques. Wounds blurred the brother's brother in the time of the second Bohem. She strictly reminded of the need for a consciousness, the teaching of the sordid fatal infant. John, he sent his sister's owner, and again included in the fight with a full concentration. He will be liked by sufficiently close to the enemy, and Vonzel his blade of emu in his back, squeezed her series. Yu Ran quickly took advantage of the advantage created by her brother. She grabbed the hilt of the sword and with incredible force pulled it out of Yul Gun Chok's body, severing his arm along the way. Jahong watched his sister's impressive victory with pride. Yu Ran, embarrassed by his admiring look, asked to postpone all conversations until they were in a safe place, away from danger. The Jin ban is infused with the piercing linacity. The hero, whom the liberty of the dead man's background, still burst into life in the waist on the other, interesting his question. In this, a critical moment on the battlefield appeared by the salt of the G-Kos with its own detachment. They could be reminiscent of their own, and the course of the evidence and the disposal of forces. Moyung Seolji was alarmed to notice Ungom Ho's serious injuries. However, the hero calmly assured her of his good condition and offered to focus on more important tasks. Ungom Ho, having assessed the situation and seeing the lack of live fighters at Jin Yoban, decided to accept the enemy's terms. This decision could bring important information without additional bloodshed. The hero dedicated his question to the head of the old clan, according to the acts of which stood a mysterious woman. This is a question of clearly important persons for Ego Lichnas and the Darling plans. Jin Yoban, instantly realizing who he was talking about, called the elder's name, Tae Muak from the Third Blood Clan. This revelation shed light on some secret organizations and their structure. Having received the desired answer, Yun Gam Ho kept his promise to spare Jin Yoban. However, with a sly smile, he noted that he did not guarantee the safety of others present on the battlefield. Jin is a ban. Its innocent positioning and tricky of the enemy concept that the unity's chance of saving the proceedings of the fights. The ego reference was entered in front of the face of death. It is a meal of Jin to be the tribal cause of the issue of the old man, and a screamed of his hono by the heavenly castle. It could have been a series of series for reputation of the hero. Those present froze in amazement at this revelation. Jia Hong finally understood the source of the hero's outstanding fighting skills. His training in the Amber Dungeon, which explained his extraordinary skill. The hero with Gorky Usmeshkoi I assigned his tactical auspica. He obtained, which traveled to kill his man in the very principle, which would be significantly reduced by the squeeze of problems and complexities. The Jin is a banner, that the head of the hum would represent a hugged phenomenon for Murima's warriors. The words of the word were clearly the hero to provoke the hero on the ill-advised acts. The provocation reached the Cephalos. The hero gave the pungent. Gene Banks will be given a Gromo in the sight of the heavenly castle, the pre-priest, that the whole Voinsky piece will now be opposed to him. Jin Yo Bang suddenly stopped and let out a sinister laugh. He recalled his promise to drag the hero with him to the grave, preparing to fulfill the last, desperate threat. Jin Yo Ban's eyes lit up with crimson light, and Yun Gom Ho was horrified to recognize the signs of a deadly mutual destruction spell. The situation was becoming critical with every second. A powerful destructive energy began to concentrate around the opponents. The air was filled with a heavy aura, foreshadowing an imminent explosion of great power. Yun Gom Ho, realizing the danger to everyone within the radius of the spell, without hesitation rushed through the stream of destructive energy. His selflessness could save the lives of others. Jin Yo Bang could not believe the enemy's recklessness. Overcoming unbearable pain and bleeding, the hero reached the enemy and delivered a crushing blow to the shoulder, incapacitating him. After the heroic Ren, weakened hum up on the crankshaft. Multiple wounds and blood shakes were served servidly on his state, but he is held in the core. After evacatsia into a free place, a lecturer of Osmoster of Wounded Warriors, he from the Trevi obtained in their blood traces of the non-invisible poison, the detachable of the Duty Mountain, which broke the flight. The presence of a second, unknown poison with delayed action caused serious concern among all participants in the events. The situation became increasingly alarming and unpredictable. The doctor regretfully admitted his inability to determine the chemical composition of the mysterious poison. This recognition made the situation of the victims even more dangerous and uncertain. Moyung Solji made a guess about the enemy's insidious plan. She believed that this was a demand for the gradual destruction of clans in order to seize control over Murim. Oyu Ran, while helping Yun Gom Ho to process numerous wounds, was actively looking for a way out of the situation. Her concern for the hero was obvious to everyone present. She turned to her brother with a request to help the wounded hero, although she saw Jia Hong's obvious reluctance. Her concern for Yun Gom Ho's health outweighed all other considerations. Ningam Hom soaked the forces, came for a farewell with my soul. He has been kicked about the reconciling for the elaboration of the fleeful freedom of the act. The gentleman from the Chehal family expressed sincere gratitude for the rescue, but the hero modestly declined the praise. He noted that he simply acted according to his conscience and did not deserve special thanks. When Yun Gom Ho was about to leave the scene, one of the soldiers blocked his way. He insisted on detaining the hero because of his alleged connection with the heavenly castle. Fortunately, one of the members of the big family stood up for the hero. He reminded everyone about the principles of honor and the inadmissibility of attacking one's own savior. The grateful of this noble patronymic of the Gomhom is a smoke. Nicker no more thankful, the path of the man, the salvation of their life, the non-matri on his beggar. Everything Tro was wounded for a farewell bowl of wine. John Han was unattended by the hero. Everything is not a vertex that before him, the most profound is the good. Jia Hong noticed with a smile the dissimilarity of the person sitting in front of him to the former impostor. These words alerted Yungam Ho. He realized that his old deception had been revealed. Oh wounds, not knowing the subtleties, shone in the view of the look at the brother and the homo-hum. She was asked the concepts of a grievous smiling of their mysterious rider. Yun Gum Ho, fearing OU Ran's violent reaction, decided not to reveal the whole truth about the past. He knew that frankness could cause her fierce anger. He faded the farewell bowl, Nin Gum Hum Hum, Gorkuyu, the truth. When the traveling way, they will become gunshots. He asked them to show firmness. Kogda will be given a sight against him. Oh John Hong is perfectly unheeded. The people of the heavenly castle were all remained with swollen enemies of the martial grades, and it was not possible. Oh wounds were released by the sort of a gum. She was opened in her senses to her nor. He did not know the need for their own ration. Nin Gum Hum, with hardness with the misery, softened the devastation of them. He spoke to the borders of different mirams, and the request would not allow the senses to let the roots. After these words, the hero calmly directed to the output, left the crying on the wounds. She could not grind with the uninstallities of them, but this was their post-reference. Secluded in the forest, the hero tried to drown his mental pain in alcohol. He understood the impossibility of allowing himself to be attached, but this did not ease the weight of the decision. Numerous memories related to OU Ran floated through the hero's mind. Over the past time, the girl has really become very dear to his heart, intensifying the pain of parting. But in my Gom Hom did not look at, his way will be overcome. Similarly to a wandering veter, he is not able to hold on one place or allow himself to be permanent. It was a sword. It was burdened to be chosen to be overwhelming opponents. He will be squeezed with the end of the sight, get in the way, the cogged on the opened attack. Ne Murima warriors led by Huangbo Zhongwu appeared from the hiding place. Their sudden appearance meant that the hero would have to enter the battle again. Blue W. Boy John, in the rebellious statement about the immutability, will leave the living representative of the heavenly castle in the alive. He specially jumped the bilniousness of the long-lived language. The hero ironically noted the surprise of such gratitude from Huangbo Zhongwu. Tot calmly explained the need to destroy Eungom Ho for the sake of peace in the wall, and ordered to attack. Eungom Ho calmly dodged all the attackers. He methodically dealt with opponents one by one, demonstrating excellent mastery of martial arts. When Huangbo Zhongwu himself entered the fray, the hero realized the need for caution. He understood that a direct confrontation with the clan could lead to even bigger problems. Guided by these considerations, Eungom Ho began to look for a way to avoid killing the enemy. He tried to find a solution that would not aggravate the already difficult situation. Using one of his special techniques, Eungom Ho dissolved into the air, causing the furious displeasure of Huangbo Zhongwu. The enemy was furious at his powerlessness against such magic, unable to oppose anything. According to this ceiling, we have a single patriarch of the clan, to cuddle with the Khan. He was clearly an indomitable battle, his Lyso pulled a deaf, hearing result. Patriarch Susyuzdal on the rejoicing of the extent of the realization. By his mind, the Hybel of the young mistress of Clan Hanbo, from the hands of the heavenly castle would be forced by the Muram clan to be able to help him. They have a succinctly subjected prayerap. He put the sword of their faces and the need of non-detached Kawaris, caught the conspirators of them. They have been overlooked by the weakening of Clan Hanbo, the hero of the dangerous preference. He has the concepts that the moving like a gap can stand their life. After the hero of the hero, the conspiracy, having been arranged from the explosion, then subjected to their darling plans. They were not sleemed, non-motto on the sides. Patriarch of clan was a young mistress will show pathos. He was imprisoned that he will be able to do with a superstition of a fracture chan in a coincidence. Ningom Hom, flipping through the Vetvium of the Deriviv, he had a lot of her position. He did not have the heads of Muramov all the ego invented, and he must find a remedy. In search of shelter, he reached the village of Fallen Moon. Making his way through the crowds of people of dubious appearance, outwardly similar to vagabonds and beggars, he carefully studied the situation. On the very dell, people were wandering the shaped murmurs of Murima. Their present deliloval insertion of the forces of the sides of the offices of the clan in this place. Having reached the desired house, Yun Gom Ho asked the guard to call Mrs. Im So. His appearance here was not accidental and had a specific purpose. The guard, surprised to recognize Yun Gom Ho as a guest, hastily ushered him inside the house. There he was waiting for a meeting with the lady herself, whose presence was important for the hero. The Soko has realized her savior and warmly induced his. She confessed that she had not been in good time. The dedication of the glance of the joy. Opposite the girl sat a serious man, who instantly identified Yun-gom-ho as a disciple of the heavenly castle. His insight and experience made it possible to immediately reveal the origin of the guest. Im So-so introduced Wang Zhongwan as a guest with a smile. Yun-gom-ho froze in amazement, realizing that in front of him was the legendary assassin himself, whose fame thundered throughout the world of martial arts. Although there was a famous master in the fallen meadow of the extinguished Della, the hero himself defeated the hero to the deep soul. The ego reputation of the sake of this will be specially significant. Nin-gom-hom-hom in the legendary warrior. He confessed that he read the sight of honor with him. After him, he was officially represented, manifested by a perpetrator. John Van's swaying and predicted that the hero will go here. Ego pre-existence was opinable and brought out the screening to the position of a young warrior. Nin-gom-hom-homo named that we have to put the excavation of the sake of it is an important su. It's recognizes the two-way, and the second was not important. At the request of Im So-so, the hero told about the bloody clan and the powerful figure behind the elder Tai Muok. He knew that it was a woman, but he needed additional information about her. John Van predetermined the hero of the hero killed this woman. However, it is a gum to be acknowledged that on the very Dell is in the union and the sensation of gratitude. Wise Chon Van displayed that she can bring the hero to the pre-vendor dish. The words of the word were a sparkling of the judgment of a young warrior. Yun-gom-ho firmly stated his desire to preserve humanity and loyalty to principles until the end. This answer made a strong impression on Young-wan. It showed the strength of character of the hero. Instead of continuing the conversation, Young-wan suddenly threw a nut in the hero's face. The speed of the throw was such that, if Yun-gom-ho had not ducked, the blow could have split his skull open. Outraged by the unprovoked attack, Yun-gom-ho demanded an explanation for the sudden attack. His surprise and indignation were quite understandable in this situation. Instead of retaliating, the hero had to defend himself from the subsequent hail of nuts. He skillfully used his sword, deflecting the continuous attacks of an experienced assassin. The assassin switched to a more serious weapon, throwing blades. He aimed at the most vulnerable parts of the enemy's body, testing the reaction and skill of the young warrior. Fighting back against a flurry of attacks, the hero felt the deadly danger of each blow. He understood that the places where the blades were directed were chosen with murderous precision. One of the blades reached its target, and at that moment the old man used a distraction. He came at the hero from behind with lightning speed, preparing a decisive blow. Yun-gom-ho barely managed to defend himself with his blade from the sudden attack. Zhongwang made it clear that if he had not stopped the blow at the last moment, the hero would have been dead already. Realizing his vulnerability, Yun-gom-ho with sincere admiration tried to understand the secret of such outstanding skill. His respect for the old assassin's abilities increased significantly. Young-wang explained with a smile that he demonstrated the power of a true assassin. He advised the hero to seek the 10 temples of hell if he aspired to gain such power. The Su was implanted to the Wan's words. She reminded that she did not smoke all the temples. The judging, the briefness of such a poll. Yun-gom-ho inquired about the reason for such a recommendation. The old man explained that the birth of a phantom assassin gives a chance for the revival of the great assassin's art. The hero is a wonderful exaltation for the sorting of Bovich. He is scared for the owner and he would be able to send him ready to do with new ones. John Van S. of the Good Ulubkoi will indicate the path to the needy Mesta on a traveling day. He was ready to help. The young warrior was sparkling and shaking. The elders gathered in the shelter of the Blood Clan for an important meeting. The senior lieutenant of the Black Mask Squad reported the destruction of Jin Yoban and Yul Gun Chok by unknown enemies. The great leader of the clan expressed his bewilderment at what had happened. He remembered the boastful assurances of the dead about the flawlessness of their plan, which made the failure especially annoying. The first elderly computed student of the Heavenly Castle. However, a third old man was blurry, that their basic plan was still not sorted. Sochia optimism. They managed to give the head of the clergy, to break the young predators of the clubs by Murima, by the eating of the murmur. This is a compensation of the second non-wandering operation. Many elders did not know about this poison. Their action was explained to them. After a month, the poison will cause a heart attack in the victims, ensuring a slow but sure death. Lighter Clan is the beginning of the trading phase plan, the prompt. This statement brought out the series of the midst of the present. The second elder turned to the leader in shock. He explained the need to mobilize the entire army for such a step and expressed doubts about its timeliness. The elder's doubts provoked a furious reaction from the leader. Black spirits appeared around him and began to strangle the elder until he bled, demonstrating his power. Everyone present was horrified to recognize the deadly black key of the heavenly demon father. Its appearance meant the extreme degree of the leader's anger and a real threat to life. The leader of Jasko recalled his supreme position in Klain. He jumped, that his word is only a law, not a tolerance of Nikki. The elders quickly realized their mistake in doubting the leader's decisions. They hastily apologized and expressed full agreement with the plan, fearing further punishment. Nin Gom Hom Hom has 10 speakers without a glow of the duty in the dated Chon Mest. Ego rehearsalness and viciousness were overwhelmed by the series in this bonfire. After the darling, the eco page was outlined. The wiring-wise, the need to go through the path, which meant an approximation of the herbs. They began to make their way on the narrow gorge. Although the name, 10 Temples Ada, was symbolic, the vernacularity reminded of its miraculous size. Sorry, the hero pledged in the perfection. In front of them was a squeezing door, which is stretched directly into the Akale. They were squeezed to the squeezing, which was told that it was unable to open it. The wire of the grid was argued about the applicant. The cogged massive creatures were coming to open. It was warmly fired by a boom. Decode the wiring for help in the path. The hero splashed forward. He was captivated by the residuality to start the revenue and the reconciliation of the new force. I do not know that it will not wait for him to go forward. Behind the massive gate, Yun Gom Ho saw a striking sight. A picturesque forest spread out among the harsh rocks. In its center, a cozy house near the gurgling river was visible, creating an unexpected contrast. On the shore of the wreck, a young girl gathered water in a wooden bear. Sleeping a miserable, she jumped and wary in his face, rushing, she will be alerted. Un Gom Ho, deep in thought, was in no hurry to answer her question. Such neglect angered the girl, and she, considering the stranger suspicious, attacked without warning with a projectile weapon. The hero easily dodged the flying projectiles, but soon noticed the cunning of the attack. The shurikens were tied to the girl's hands with the thinnest silver threads, allowing them to control their trajectory in flight. The hook homo-ham will cut off the sword of the sword. Ego Blade was only pushed in the stretch fibers, the demonstration of the uninstalled properties of the ore. The hero was a tactical preemptage in the smashed situation. The hunter rolled down the sword. He rolled the moving, forced the opposite of opponents to fall on the ground. Exhausted by the protracted battle, Yun Gom Ho summoned his phantom swords. They cut the controlling threads in a flash, leaving the young warrior her main advantage. The girl, not wanting to admit defeat, immediately proceeded to attack with throwing knives. However, for an experienced warrior, such simple attacks seemed like child's play. Reflecting all the projectiles, the hero quickly approached the enemy. With an impressive movement, he sent her own weapon in reverse flight, aiming directly at her face, demonstrating superiority. At a critical moment, an elderly man appeared, the girl's teacher. He lightning-fast protected his student from the attack of an unknown brat, showing his own skill. Introducing himself as the gatekeeper of Ada Dunmac Ria, the old man demanded an explanation for the attack on the student's ego. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere of the confrontation. The hero kept silent, mentally noting the extraordinary skill of the girl. He understood that the gatekeeper's student Ada could not be a weak opponent, despite her young age. Sleeping the old man, he looked at the guessed his sight with a NGO with Nan Van. He predetermined that before him the contender for the election of 10 Temples of Ada. The girl stared at the guest in amazement, not understanding his silence about the applicant's status. Yun Gom Ho remarked with a smile that he would have explained himself if she hadn't started attacking so hastily. The teacher wisely conflicted with the shelter, and gladly gave the guest an adu. Ego is peaceful, and wisdom will help you dissect a steady situation. Yun Gom Ho, showing due respect, bowed to the new teacher. He expressed his full readiness to trust his mentorship, realizing the importance of the upcoming training. In the Utni house, the gritter explained the essence of the first one. It will have a questioner of the applicant, where the pity, there is only the existence, reaction, and resistance to the yads. The girl, still offended by the guest, pointedly remarked about the insurmountability of even the first gate. Her words were full of skepticism about the abilities of the new contender. The gritter explained to the unbearable his students with the first gates. However, the Gomham firmly states the readiness of love, showing his reference. Dun Makaraskasal on the structure is soaked. The infantry of the boobing of the art began with 5 gates and only 10 passes. It is possible to become a phantom assassin. The hero was interested in the reach of John Vana. He learned about the path of the 9 gate. He was brought in a non-resilient result. Although the old man was consumed in the possibility of going through all 10. Yun Gam Ho expressed his firm determination to try. The gatekeeper scheduled the start of the test in 2 days, which made the girl sarcastic about the imminent death of the applicant. In the ancestral manner, the mistress of Ganchon was struck by the reconciliation of the Dai. O Hong and O Wounds returned safely after all. The father hastened to check the condition of his daughter. O Yu Ran greeted him briefly and immediately retired to her room, which was unusual for her character. On Chan snowstorm service naming in the character of Dokri. For the short time, she became a vocabulary of the second man, which blunted his consciousness. O Jia Hong decided to tell his father about the mysterious master An Un Gyoke. This man, imprisoned in the Amber Dungeon, taught Yun Gom Ho martial arts. It turned out that the Mastra kept in a darkness. This was due to the presentation of the clan to the Murim of existence, and will gather and gain force without compounding. O Jia Hong tried to comfort his disappointed father. However, O Gang Zhong was more annoyed by Ungam Ho's interference in their plans to destroy the Heavenly Castle. O Gang Chong recognized the need to focus on the Blood Clan. This organization posed a serious threat and was clearly preparing a large-scale attack. He also emphasized the importance of eliminating Ungam Ho. O Gang Zhong thought it necessary to get rid of this weed before it became an even bigger problem. He called a servant, Ogan Chong, a strict order to bring us soon. The ego of the rebellion showed the heart-in-law of the laid darling. On the Rus, 10 temples of Ada have fallen over a unzipped attack. The curtains were to unbutton the ballistic tire opposed to the number of attacking. After the first wave was reflected, the master gathered additional soldiers. An impressive squad of experienced fighters, ready to defend the temples, formed around him. The enemy's axe, the old man, concept. The enemy struck not to be delighted, but to the full dinner of the temples. In the midst of events, Yun Gom Ho appeared, wanting to know what was happening. His appearance added a new element to the development of the situation. The Gritter insisted the hero about the non-investing attacking. It is Otmel of being consistent with such a large-scale attack for the whole of the history of temples. Ungam Ho suggested the possible organizers of the attack. These could be people of the Blood Clan, warriors of the Grand Marshal, or any other Murima clan. The girl was amazed at the hero's ability to turn the entire wall against himself. Her surprise showed the extent of Yun Gam Ho's influence and fame. The old man with a release. You know about the binding of the contender with the Heavenly Castle. He will be bullied by such a development. Seeing powerful explosions below, the old man ordered the student and Yun Gam Ho to run. He showed them the way through the underground passage of Iron Blood, hoping to save their lives. The Devoch was unprecedentedly refused to leave the battlefield. In the tears, she explained that she was alert to the booze of the art for their homes. The enemies finally broke through the massive gates. A wave of attackers rushed in like a dark torrent, mercilessly attacking the defenders of the temple. The old cockroachly ordered the warriors to enter the fight. I will be amazing. It is a Gam Homo, that one has sent a whole army, not far from the exaltability of the third prince of the dream. The representative of Grand Marshal is unattended by the catwalk. When he learned about the first attack of the Blood Clan troops, the prince was pleased. He noted the advantage of their position for the destruction of all opponents with one blow. The commander was plans to plans in the case of a bloody clan. A Bespacoil variant, at which the enemy is first reached to the Nin Homo Ho. The prince has a courageous statement about the unobstructedness of Universal. The commander felt compared to the situation, and will definitely go to the side of the side of the side. Yun Gam Ho resolutely entered the battle, not wanting to stay on the sidelines. He felt responsible for the inhabitants of the 10 temples, who trusted him and were willing to teach him, and he could not allow them to perish. When the defenders seemed close to victory, the cavalry master of the Blood Clan suddenly intervened in the battle. He ordered his soldiers to change their tactics, abandoning direct attacks in favor of more cunning methods. Sleeping a new order, the warriors were rolled up like a unclear teeny. They became practitioners of the unknown. All the attacks passed the skill, and the words of them were hundreds from the air. Finding himself next to the old man and his student, Yun Gam Ho began preparing to use his powerful Thousand Phantoms technique. He understood the need for decisive action. Many prisoners' swords were struck by the opponents. The cog of this was unburred. The hero had reached on a painful, risky tactic. Phantom shoe. Molninously transplanting into the enemy. The homo burdening the colossal energy. The constant large-scale electrifying electricity of the destroyer of the stretching of warriors, all the land of their bell, bearing bodies. The master of the cavalry was sophisticated by the dishwarming of the disposal. He mowed his youth 10 years back, and the cogged himself was a similar image. Yoon Gum-ho appreciated the imposing figure of the enemy, clearly realizing his incredible power. However, when he offered to surrender, the hero resolutely refused, ready to continue the fight. In the heat of the battle, the hero made a serious mistake. He did not notice the illusory nature of the enemy's weapons. Approaching too close, he received a deep cutting blow to the stomach. The triumphant enemy has made its own infusion attack. He has miped a few of the copies, artistically tied in invisible nails, delays of their tract assist. Yoon Gum-ho instantly summoned phantom swords for protection. He suspected that the spears could be another illusion that could not be dealt with by ordinary weapons. The cavalry captain approached the hero, realizing the criticality of the situation. Having lost all his infantry, he had to personally deal with an unusual enemy in order to avoid a complete failure of the operation. At the first clash of blades, Yoon Gum-ho felt the monstrous power of the enemy. Even his excellent sword could hardly withstand such pressure, forcing him to constantly retreat. The fight was all painful. The hero had to show a non-peeled catch that the deadly strokes of the optical enemy would bow. The enemy began to notice the extraordinary strength of the young fighter. He was especially struck by the moment when, after pretending to retreat, Yoon Gum-ho suddenly let out a flurry of sharp daggers. One from Kinjalov Edva did not reach the Sefer, and only the prayer reaction saved the Kapiana from a deadly blow to the abdomen. This moment was shown by the briefness of the enemy. An experienced warrior learned the techniques of the Sky Castle. Yoon Gum-ho, throwing off his torn clothes, modestly noted the imperfection of his techniques due to incomplete training. The potential of the youthie's potential, the Capitan has taken the little one. He dies. That the Nelya will allow such an enemy to survive and will allow the devastation, and the rebellion will take all the forces in his default. Yoon Gum-ho saw a deadly attack approaching, reminiscent of a devastating hurricane. He understood the need to increase his power for a successful confrontation. A protective dome of energy began to form around the hero. Attacking wind swords flew out of it one by one, creating a deadly whirlwind. Opponents fought to the limit. Finally, the hero managed to deliver a decisive blow, piercing the enemy's heart before he could touch him with his blade. Capitan pledged in a dead shock from a deadly blow. Nin hom homo honey, the Catanese from his heart, at the same time, the shoulder of the crowd. Finally, he allowed himself to be a pre-trial. The hero swayed strongly. He lowered to the ground, coating blood from the sentences of the lungs, hearing the heavier. The old man continued a desperate battle with the rest of the opponents. He ordered the student to help the wounded Yoon Gum-ho take cover, confident in his ability to deal with the remaining enemies. Impresses of warriors, the weakness of the Gum-hom, they fell. The devil was the excellent order of the teacher, and Brown into the help of a wounded hero. At a critical moment, the third prince decided to join the battle. He sent his soldiers with a cruel order not to leave anyone alive. The spanning Devochka drank the help of the Gom-hom. She and the Ujas will acquire new adversaries. They are affected by their non-pronunciation. Nin Gom-hom was founded by Grand Marshals Voinov. The cogs of them began to surround the ego for the attack, he with the mountain spokes. The cogged died with them a meal, but the fate resulted in the same way. The little defender desperately covered the wounded hero. He still could not recover his strength, and she understood that against such a number of merciless enemies they had little chance. The cogged Elitic warriors of the third prince fell to him. Nin Gom-hom Homo had a pain. He needed that the Devochka was in the free place, prepared for a rebellious squeal. Gathering his last strength, the hero rose for the final battle. Activating the technique of 100 phantoms, he created a deadly whirlwind of phantom blades that cut through enemies like lightning. The first 10 attackers died instantly. Overcoming fatigue, the hero continued to fight, methodically destroying everyone in his path. Every opponent met a quick death from his merciless blades. The third prince was acquired for deadly dance, acknowledged mastism. Increase the enemy, he ordered to attack all of the one unnecessarily, will be given a number. The hero felt the consequences of an exhausting battle. His vision was clouded by fatigue and blood loss, making every movement more and more difficult. At the most critical moment, the old man appeared. "Do not swing." He stood up to his student, ready to resist any sway. The older is the expediency of intruding body. With one smooth moving the hands, he creates the bridge of the power of the force, which is shaken by the invisible blades of all the closer warriors. He split the spatula, he returned to the gomhom. The old man ordered the devoch and flee to the cabbage of the jaundice, planning the entrance to their departure. The hero did not want to leave the mentor, but he insisted. The old man emphasized that this is the only chance for survival, leaving no room for objections. Older Molininosis mummy bomb. The carnicle of Daima sewed sparkling, significantly seemingly attacking. Through the thick smoke, the old man uttered his last request. He wanted Yungam Ho to become a true phantom assassin and avenge his death. Realizing the inevitability of the decision, the hero grabbed the resisting girl. He began a hasty retreat, realizing the importance of fulfilling the mentor's last will. The Devochka dared the exposed to the dyes. He patiently explained that he would be able to follow the order of them and asked the path to the path. Obtained by fear of the teacher, the Devochka was overwhelmed. She stretched her hands in his direction. The wire will allow her to help in the battle, not to leave the mentor. Enemy soldiers noticed the attempt to escape and rushed in pursuit. The old man blocked their way, engaged in his last heroic battle. An impressive army gathered at the gates of the Grand Marshal's castle. The troops were fully ready to launch a decisive assault, waiting only for a signal. The troops were commanded by Grand Marshal himself. Ego presented well, wool diet, ready for the interstitial detachment for the honor of his home. The Grand Marshal noted the location of the opponents. In addition to the warriors of the Blood Clan, below there were warriors of the Brotherhood of the Green Forest, called as reinforcements. Oja Hong tried to calm his comrades, promising the help of the Moyan clan after curing the poison. However, he understood that now they cannot afford to wait. The man agreed with the opinion of the children. He realized the inevitability of immediate entry into battle, despite all the risks. Kogda disappeared signal strokes of bow drums about Ganchong due to the order. He needed a castle to a launch of a mop of blood, not allowing the enemy to step on their land. Ou ran, and Ojahong rushed to the front lines of the defenders. They showed incredible cruelty in destroying their opponents, demonstrating their combat prowess. Yungom Ho successfully carried the girl a considerable distance. Seeing her desperate tears, he tried to bring her to her senses, reminding her of the need to survive. When the hero asked about the location of the Cave of Iron Blood, the girl silently raised a trembling finger. She pointed to a small opening behind the rock, their only way to escape. Yun Gom-ho suddenly sensed the approaching danger thanks to his heightened senses. His fighting instincts warned of an imminent attack. The hero sharply shouted at the girl to fall to the ground. They barely had time to dodge a deadly attack with a twisted sword, avoiding instant death. The attack belonged to the third prince, who together with the commander overtook the fugitives. He made it clear that their desire to escape and their lives had come to an end. The criticality of the situation was envisioned by the Hom-Hom, the devochism of the entrance to the Cater. She dismissed the abominable entrance, in a way to open the passage. The hero was inherently drawn to the rock. By the way, 3 Zhanga. He obtained that they have an uninhabited chance of salvation, requires an accurate rasp. He ordered the girl to run to the cave when he would distract the enemies. Having reached the entrance, she had to activate the destruction mechanism, ensuring their safety. The girl looked with doubt at the hero's severe injuries. She did not believe in his ability to face such formidable opponents in his current state. The commander, angered by Yungam Ho's silence in front of the prince, attacked with a whip. She aimed at the child, trying to cause pain to the hero through his ego protector. The Devochka miraculously shook the blow, and the trading attack was made by the Gom-Hom. He cut off the head of the commander. He was brought to his dishonesty of the beloved ore. The third prince releases fit into the opposite. He will not burn the hero into the kingin. The Vishaya will show merciful in the serving. Ningam Homo calmly reminded of the prince about the change of his position. He did not serve the Grand Marshal, and did not say the swoop of the prince. The words of the hero were deftly swooping the prince. He is an indispensable reconfigured Hom-Hom with a case. He was brought into the country of secret documents of his father. The hero only smiled in response to the accusations. Instead of empty excuses, he decided to focus on preparing for the inevitable battle. When the princes attack, Gom-Hom smell will be closed. However, the bridge of the wildest Wilda was fired far back, the demonstration of the enemy. Approximately to the enemy, the prince displayed the preservation. He stated that the beads of the heavenly castle in the export of the hero was paved. Rising into the air, The prince used the strongest technique. His sword of storm and hurricane was designed to deliver a crushing blow to the enemy. The hero gathered his last strength to protect himself from the blow. Having successfully repelled the attack, he fell to his knees, choking on blood from overexertion. The prince has expressed the consumption of the enemy breaks his better. However, he added that the predetermined does not deserve the death of death. With methodical cruelty, the prince dealt precise blows. He aimed at the shoulders and chest of the hero, gradually increasing the depth of the wounds, prolonging the torture. Nin gom hom balansirin at the boundary of the rise. It is necessary to be expected by an Eden chance, which can be moved by the battlefield. The prince was swore by the enemy's martyrs. From the sadistic library, he blight, that the prostate is to stand the blood on the mest. Finally, the diva watched screaming. The name of the new... It signalized about the reconciliation of caches and readiness for the act. The hero invested his last strength in a decisive attack. The blow was so powerful that fear flashed even on the prince's haughty face, allowing Yoon Gom-ho to rush to the cave. The commander went out to elaborate his chick. Even in the weakened state of the hero, it was easy to parry the attack, which is moving to the cliffs. He reached the devils. The Gom-homo glowed with a parish with a river. She felt asked him to be in the kasser, ready something important. To blow the hero, the girl did not follow him. It was established in the entrance to the entrance. The ego will complete the path, and the becomes of the phantom assassin. Enemy soldiers rushed to the entrance to the cave. They noticed the planted explosives too late and paid with their lives for their carelessness. Looking at the entrance filled with the explosion, the prince immediately ordered to find another way. His rage at the lost prey was obvious. One of the surrounding warriors of the recessed alternative passes. This was the identity of the path in the cave. The commander brought to organize constant acquisition. She was rightly frozen that early, or the Gom-hom will get out of Eucride. The prince has been the logicalness of such a remnant. However, his ego was struck by the missing expensiveness of the excellence with a hated enemy. Inside the cave, the wounded hero tried to climb up. Driven by the unyielding desire to become a phantom assassin, he mustered his last strength to continue his journey. 7 months have passed. 2 guards were on duty at the collapsed entrance to the cave, discussing the absurdity of their situation and endless waiting. One guard of the prince's performers are insane. It was a non-expedient survival of the hom-hom instead of all for the prospect of multicolored dwarf. This guard was sure of the death of the hero. In his opinion, the collapse of the cave after the explosion left no chance of survival. The wart was awarded to the discipline. He reminded of them as a bold soldier grand marshal. They will not be suffered by the orders, but to execute them. The first sufferer was the importance of discipline. However, he came on the need for a good person in the orders, which is a matter of fact that the detachable is being. He recalled a fierce battle and a powerful explosion. According to his conviction, such destruction could not leave anyone alive. Strange electrical discharges interrupted their conversation. Lightning behaved unnaturally, reacting to something hidden in the depths of the cave. A monstrous discharge threw the guards to the edge of the cliff. In horror, they saw a mysterious figure coming out of the cave. The guards recognized the hero with shock. Seeing him alive, they instantly realized the sadness of their position in the face of his return. One grabbed the signal whistle to call for reinforcements. However, a paralyzing lightning strike prevented him from completing the action. Emerging from the darkness, Yoon Gom-ho remembered the first day in the cave. The events of the time when he first woke up now seemed like a distant past. Then he had to immediately dodge the deadly daggers. Now he is back, immeasurably stronger, ready for new challenges. The more guardian in the fears, the death of death. But the hero, to be blown, simply shaved by. Not a vocabulary of the ego. However, the bursting of the womb was prevented. Those, the hero with a slight moving the finger, he blamed on them. So transformed by time and phantom assassin, the phantom of the phantom of the phantom assassin. An elderly man named Shinsu Songui entered a small roadside establishment. He humbly asked for a seat and ordered simple noodles without drawing attention to himself. After serving the main course, the friendly waiter unexpectedly brought the old man a free pagoda. Shinsu Songi, surprised by such generosity, remarked that he was not used to free treats. When the young waiter was about to leave, Shinsu Songi stopped him with a shrewd look. He asked whether the boy's back had been bothering him since he was young, and whether he suffered from frequent ailments. The waiter was embarrassed by such insight. He admitted to excruciating pain in his back, as if it was ready to break, and also to frequent stomach problems that seriously hampered his work. The old man was louderly mourned and accurately defended her served problems with a young man. The ego-diagnostic way was defeated. Even simple porridge turned out to be an unbearable burden for the waiter's weakened stomach. His internal organs were completely affected by the cold, aggravating the condition. Sharp with the accurate diagnosis, the officer of the steam on the crankshaft. He will give all his immunity for the disposal of the Makati, which so much was elaborated by his life. Shinsa Songui Magko asked the youth to get with Colin. He explained that he has already paid goodness for his kindness, showing his own dishonesty to help. Older promised to write out the necessary herbs for lying. He was embarrassed that they are in the flow of the monetary, the fortune of sight of the state, giving the hope of being. The grateful waiter asked to know the name of his savior. The old man modestly introduced himself as a wandering herbalist, smiling mysteriously and not revealing more information about himself. Shinsu Songui suddenly sensed danger. He abruptly pushed the waiter aside, dodging the deadly flying swords, showing an amazing reaction. Panic began in the institution due to a sudden attack. Frightened visitors rushed to the exits in fear, creating chaos in the room. The old man instantly identified the source of the threat. He insisted that the waiter leave the premises immediately. Realizing the danger of the situation, the young man hesitated, not wanting to leave his benefactor. But Shinsu Songui, repelling the next attack, firmly stated that the inexperienced assistant was interfering in the battle. The waiter decided to run after the guards. The green-robed warrior drew his sword and triumphantly announced the capture of Shinsu Songuya. He revealed the old man's intention to deliver the antidote to the young leader of the Marima clan. The attacker, the ribs will stretch the old man, that the delivery of the lecture. They were planned with forth and dreamed. However, they were not overwhelmed by the beads of the old man. The first attacked Odolel with Molnienosai, demonstrating uninhabited force. Having dealt with the closest opponents, the old man discovered an ambush. Outside, a significant reinforcement was waiting for them, ready to attack. Among his enemies, he recognized the formidable Red Blade. This devil Bloodwind Knight from the Brotherhood of the Green Forest was known for his ruthlessness. Shinsu Songi understood the importance of his mission. He had to escape at any cost and complete the task of healing the Muram clan leader. The leader of the attackers looked at the old man with involuntary respect. He apologized for the necessity of the murder, explained the dependence of his own life on the execution of the order. On command, the warriors attacked simultaneously. Although Shinsu Songi fought bravely, one of the attacks hit the target, wounding him in the leg and severely limiting his mobility. Despite his advanced age and a simple cane instead of a weapon, the old man showed amazing skill. His ability to dodge attacks was admirable. Songui Urgui Urini, and the commander of the asset was approached. He is a disposal of the life of a man's life with an unfavorable preference of the Moor clan. At the moment the sword was brought in for the fatal blow, simple chopsticks stopped the blade. Thrown with incredible force, they penetrated deeply into the wall. The enraged commander was looking for the source of the attack. He noticed a man sitting calmly at the table, who calmly continued his meal. Leneman lattice about the noise of the ego meal. Ego is peaceful in such a situation, it was said to be felt. During the attack of the opponents, he carelessly hit the table. Thrown into the air, the chopsticks rushed towards the attackers like lightning, turning into a deadly weapon. Any drowsy acting with a nonsense. They were squeezed by the hearts, the delay of saving is not possible for the defeat. Amazed by the unusual technique, Shinsu Songui assumed that the stranger belonged to Muram's warriors. However, he denied this assumption. The Moor member of the Clot clan is not overlooked by the hero. Tot calmly state the remedy will go through the meal of the Prasda, which will leave the place. Red up warrior brown with the curses on the darling. However, he reached the Mesta where Sidel Gom Hom Hom was. There was no one. The hero of the table as a resistance for Molionic gripping. When you have a back enemy, he one moves the wool roll of the Ada in his skull. Shinsa Songi pushed the tinctures. The way of the warrior is the bout of the boy of a demonic bloody veterinarian for Ida said a non-varian. Realizing the need to retreat, the old man suggested that Yun Gom Ho leave together. He wanted to talk before the arrival of the guard in a calmer environment. The hero with a smile agreed to join the old man. The only condition was a decent meal, for which Shinsu Songui willingly promised food and good drink. In a secluded bar, an old man tried to find out the identity of the savior. He asked to remember him only as a person with personal accounts to the Blood Clan. He showed an interest in the situation of the old woman. The hero has to be infused with the infusion. It was obvious that it was not an attack to one of the same arrest. Shinsa Songi, a kind of a lounge, the truth of the truth. Yunye pre-sours of the clubs were still cherished from the overwhelming poison, felt in the same way. Ngamho was amazed by the long suffering of the noble warriors. He was especially concerned about the state of the Heavenly Dragon clan, with which he had a special relationship. After confirmation, the dangerous hero fell silent. The old man explained the effect of the poison. The bodies of the victims remained alive, but the souls wandered in the void, creating a kind of coma. Ngomho suddenly understood the nature of the poison. The symptoms resembled the effect of the law of the Great Tribulation, which the third elder applied against the heavenly castle. Shinsa Songi Snowstorm Non, disparative reaction of the Sobashednik. Scientific and non-religious hearts took away ego-deep knowledge of the one. The older infusion will ask for the knowledge of neutralization of pump. Ego of consumption of the judgments of the postgun was obvious. Ningom Homo was a co-selection. The secrets of the law of the great Bedstia could help the reconciliation. But Somnonia teased his soul. He remembered the impression of the clan in the case of his ego begging with Heavenly Castle. They were left behind in his memory. Without Moyung Solji's intervention, the situation could have turned tragic. The clans were ready to attack even a wounded hero, forgetting about his help. The hero dried up the salvation of those, the same death. In his memory, the help of the clan of Heavenly Dragon at a difficult moment. He sobbed their request to the Sioux on the posting. This gave the dragon all time for the dawn and saved the life. Having decided to help all the victims, he turned to the old man. Yun Gomho asked about familiarity with the technique of casting a spell through poison. Shinsu Songui recognized the impossibility of helping without understanding the principle of making magic poison. Yun Gomho began a detailed explanation of the mechanism of ego action. To the dinner, the old man is a way of creating a way of creation. The ego-deaf pole in the herbalist helped to have the concepts of the complex process of preparing the preparation. The hero was impressed by the herbalist's abilities. He was glad that he met a master who was able to understand the most complicated technique from half a word. The old man will grace the nonsense. Without his help, the fencing of the youthful leaders would be unable to be unable, and he is a deaf senile, this sodist. Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Murima warriors. They expressed surprise when they discovered the corpses of Blood Clan fighters at the agreed meeting place with the old man. The leader of the order gladly gave the Neurodendi Shinsa Sangai. The ego arrives in the cellos, as it was so much that they arrived. Aeon Gomho respectfully bowed to the old man and announced his departure. His mission was accomplished, and it was time to move on. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Shinsu Songi promised to keep the memory of their meeting alive. He expressed hope for a future meeting, if fate would be kind. The girl followed the departing stranger with her gaze. She felt a strange recognition in his face, trying to remember where she could see him. He grew up with the hero's validity. She stopped his ego. However, the old man, who was needed in the dressing wounds, asked him to help pierce the break. Turning the wounds of Songuya, the devil was moving on the dedication. It was uninhabited, to be obvious, and she was able to destroy the aim of the peaceful path. The old man remembered their meeting with deep gratitude. The help of the hero was invaluable. It allowed to find a way to save the young leaders of the Murim clan. Leaving the garden, Ningom Homo amazed on the presented old knowledge. He was inhabited by him to be able to help the members of Clan Murim. O Jahong received alarming news about strange events in the cave. The lightning at the entrance to the cave of Iron Blood and the death of all the guards that night caused concern. The assault in the way was the commander. He in an indispensable order he enhances Ohora on all the perimeter, and she has new inseparable. On the freshness, the Hanj shouted on the judgments. He is a damned. He was planning to plan a large-scale campaign against a bloody clan. For the 7 Mesev after the supervisory attack, the Dugov was suffered heavy. The quarter of the troops wasted, and the warriors of the warrior were demoralized. Wounds were constantly trained in the hard-working days. She struck significantly her strength, prepared not to defense, but to actively anti-bloody confrontation with a bloody clan. Casting move to the Woody Moon. Ningam has arrived in their so-so. Nadia will get an important information about recent codes. He Hotel will explain the causes of the caches of jaundice. Ego informed, the bloody clan and the Grand Marshal people were united against him. The assumption about spies was fully confirmed. The Hao clan intensified their reconnaissance, but Chong Wang managed to detect and neutralize the spies in time. The hero struck the judgment of the judgment. He found out that she had received wounds, returned to the furniture for the flight. Saddened by the lack of opportunity to thank young Hong, Yun Gom Ho was comforted. So promised to give him words of appreciation at the next meeting. Asking about the war between the Blood Clan and the Grand Marshal, the hero heard disturbing news. The castle could hardly withstand the onslaught of the enemy's elite units. They described the situation on the front. The main seizures were on the simple Gohot, but not at the Generalov and Stashishin also bend in the Sake. Strong warriors remained in the order, the Socha of the Nadezhda. Their presence gave a chance to hold the crepes in this complex situation. Nin Gom Hom Hom predisputed the protracted nature of the conflict. The So-So read the chances of a bloody clan for the victory of all painful, but the existence was left unclear. Their different downsides about the situations were pronounced. The non-mediatingness of the resistance of the counter was all the painful pain. John Van was unprecedentedly appeared, gladly glowing the hero. The ego arrival of the served. A new energy was introduced in a break. The accompanying master asked with interest about the 10 rounds of trials. He wanted to know if Yun Gom Ho really made it all the way. The hero of the piercing is a spit, limiting them. Everything present was thundered in the prayer, the significance of this. Nin Gom Hum Homo had the principle of his recession on his first time. In the mysterious comrade, he has an ancient ore, sellable grasses and manuscripts. Having prepared and selected the shell, he was the principal of the deputy. 10 Ural temples were waiting for him, with their own deadly ones. The first cafe struck his ego with chimney creatures. Green goblins with a non-versatile tube was represented by a served wagon for an indiscriminate warrior. Creatures attacked from the heights, demonstrating amazing abilities. Their speed and agility seemed incredible for creatures of their size. Good preparation saved Yun Gom Ho's life in this trial. Ordinary swords could not pierce their strong bodies. Only accurate spear blows to the vulnerable places of the skull brought results. In the midst of the battle, one monster almost caught the hero by surprise. A lightning-fast reaction made it possible to duck and chop off the creature's head with a sharp throw of the spear. Jelezna will to survive the hero forward. He methodologically unjust guns of one after the other, while not sparing the path to the path. The new way was waiting for him in the traveling. Any stew can be the gender in this way. The cave was filled with clever traps. Deadly arrows could fly from any point at any time. Nan, ridden sweeping, flew on the hero. Its body was wounded, but he is moving forward. Attempts to dodge did not bring results. Each new place activated new mechanisms, leaving no time even for a short respite. Realizing the futility of dodging, the hero changed his tactics. Taking the most durable sword, he began to cut arrows on the fly, paving the way through the deadly rain. One from the most obtained, healed unnecessary catching. The hero had to balancing over the bottomless gap with the steps, to represent the sword of the sword. He hanged over the gap. He is the exit of the situation. The prejudice was all the demanding depends on the numerous wounds from the predetermined. Having reached solid ground, the hero met new opponents. Warriors in yellow armor with demonic masks and terrifying horns were preparing for battle. Having overcome this challenge, Yun Gom Ho reached the final gate. They looked the most ominous and dangerous of all the previous ones, foreshadowing the final test.